Oh shit! All right. I got chicken, dudes. Chicken and rice ready to go. Rush out the popcorn.
Igor's not here. What do you want to do?
Stop, you're making me blush. Thanks for being legit, man. Thanks so much for chilling, man. Glad you guys like hanging out. Damn, that's a dope part of the map. That bridge? Oh, sick.
Hello and welcome to the Gran Turismo World Series, coming to you live from Los Angeles. Now, we are in the midst of FanFest, which is like this huge just celebration of everything automotive. But these particular cars are super cool because these are just regular Joes who brought down their babies in the hope that they're going to win the GT award and get put in the game. You might be playing one of these cars, and we're going to find out which one later. Now, let's not forget the main reason we're here, which is the Nations Cup. We need to know if Serrano's going to take it 3 for 3. I need to know, you need to know. Let's find out. Yes, we are here inside the beautiful Orpheum Theatre in Los Angeles with, I've got to say, one of our best crowds ever. You guys are well up for it.
You guys hear it just fine, or should I go up a little higher?
We are loving it here. The energy is fantastic. And of course, it's the Nations Cup. There's so much greatness to come. But before we get into all of that, why don't we take a quick look at a lovely little campaign for you.
Forget that you can get involved with the World Series inside Gran Turismo 7 with the bonus campaign. Just click on the Winners Campaign banner on the GT7 World Map, and that's going to give you the chance to win 1 million credits
Enska, not Ensiaka, but I'm
Nations
best your
Cup
name up
and
too.
the Manufacturers Cup by predicting who's going to win.
Your name is tough, brother. I'm not gonna
Just
lie.
think of all the stuff you could buy with that. Don't forget that you can enter and
It's
vote
louder than my
right
mic.
after
Hello?
the start.
Hello?
That
I'm
means
eating, so it's a little
final.
further.
Good luck. Watch the World Series broadcast through your
How's that,
GT7
better?
game, and you'll unlock some special in-game rewards through the Viewers Campaign. Watch the Nations Cup live stream and you could win a Mazda RX-7 GTX 90. Everyone likes free stuff, myself
likes
included.
RX-7s.
And here's your chance to grab some.
Now, I know you guys are super excited to find out more about this Spec 3 update that is coming very, very soon. So why don't we take a little sneaky peek at the Yas Marina track?
Shit, little R34 at the front. This is the new track that's coming in the game. What the fuck? Is Bow Wow driving that thing or what?
So I'm here with, well,
I want to raise it a bit.
I mean, have you ever watched a Gran Turismo World Series? If you don't know who he is, Igor, you got a chance to drive on this track. Like, what are some of your thoughts?
Yeah, so yesterday I had a little bit of time to play in the track. The track looks really good, especially at the nighttime. The immersion that you have playing that track, it's very intense. And also the track is very technical, have a lot of room to do overtakes and stuff, and I think it's going to be great for racing as well.
I mean, it looks pretty good, right? I mean, come on, guys, you can do better than that. It looks pretty good, right? It's the blood, sweat, and tears of polyphony. Give him a bit of. So also, for Spec 3 as well,
setup.
we've got like this new data logging feature. So maybe you want to explain a little bit about that so they can get an idea of what it is.
Yeah, so the data logging stuff, it's what we use also in real life as well. So in the Gran Turismo, now we have only the replay to compare against the other drivers, and now we'll have the data logging that we can really look into details of driving. And I think you can make your time more value, I would say. Like instead of trying in the your driving and see that on the track, you can like actually compare to the other driver on the data and see like what's the difference it is.
Oh, so they don't want to know what other drivers are doing. It's just about. No, I'm just kidding. Of course you do, right? You're a little bit competitive.
Yeah, so we kind of expecting the World Final to be more competitive with these two, I guess.
It's good. Well, I mean, it was already, we did get like a little bit kind of nerdy into the stats, but this is like another level of nerdy statting, which I can see you probably like.
Yeah, we kind of love that, I guess.
Well, you definitely love it.
Statist, or what's it called, graphs
Well,
and
it's
shit.
going to be amazing. You guys
Where
excited
you're
to try
messing
it?
up, losing 2/10.
We are so excited to see you on track as well. So big thank you to Igor for coming in and chatting to us.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you.
It's weird if you're not here.
Yeah,
I know you have to like drive real cars or whatever, but like, come on, man.
No, the thing is, like, I'm here, being here in the competition, watching all the drivers compete. Like, I want to drive it to on a race against them.
Well,
they're the best in the world.
oh,
Like, I want to challenge myself against them.
Oh, I had to go to Super Formula.
This guy like
Just
really
kidding,
good
I'm just
driver?
kidding.
You guys know this
All
guy?
well, it's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
We're going to have a little bit of a recap to keep you up to date of everything that happened in Berlin.
Gran Turismo World Series 2 for the Nations Cup. We drive to the line here at the Red Bull Ring. Weather in play and 30 laps of action to come.
Just as Gallo comes under attack from Ura, you're on the inside, Serrano's going to follow him through. They come two at a time to the Spaniards, and there goes Ura. Can Serrano
What the
make it
heck
through
car
as
is
well,
that?
using the draft of Ura, who pulls across to help his compatriot.
Drumont's going to defend this line surely to the inside and force Serrano to the outside. You can make a move stick through there. He needs a good grip under braking and a willing dance partner. Drumont tries to squeeze him. Serrano's there, but he gets a face full of curb as Drumont holds the line for second and holds on for now. Serrano's going to
You look over at someone on land after they fuck you up, you know what I mean, on the drive.
The exit of the right-hander, Serrano there with the inside line, and now the lead of the race for the first time, and he's got 6 laps separating him from his second victory in succession. Serrano leads, but Ura's got the inside line here on Kaidebrun in the middle sector. Can he make it stick through into the left-hander? He can, and Gallo's there as well. De Bruyne loses 2 places. Jose Serrano makes it 2 wins from 2 races in the Nations Cup here in Berlin. What a performance from the Spaniard. Second place for Valerio Gallo and P3 for Kaidebrun. It's now time to meet the 12 drivers that will be lining up on the grid. Please welcome, first of all, from Chile, it's Angel Inestrosa. Angel is a 5-time winner of the Gran Turismo World Series events. Over 54 starts, a win ratio of 9.3%.
Won this thing 5 times.
Could he add to that tally here tonight and get off the bottom of the scoreboard? Next up, from Canada, give it your all for Samuel Cardinal. It's Samuel's first season in the Gran Turismo World Series as he makes his way onto the stage here in Los Angeles to a rapturous applause from the crowd.
What do I do with my hands?
Next up, give it your all for Guy Barbara from Australia. Guy qualified for the Nations Cup for his 2nd season in succession, and he's held in very high esteem amongst the Gran Turismo competitors who will be looking to try and add to a points tally here tonight. Next up from Brazil, it's Adriano Carrazza. Adriano's a 2-time winner of Gran Turismo World Series events in the past. He's been in this championship for pretty much as long as everybody else, and he knows how to compete at the sharp end of the field. Next up from France, it's Thomas Le Boutelet. It's Thomas's 4th year competing in the Nations Cup. 2 wins he's
already got the gloves on, ready to go.
Could he go and make it a 3rd here tonight? Next up, the 2022 Manufacturers' Cup champion from France, it's Kylian Drumont. Kylian now in his 3rd season competing in the Gran Turismo World Series. He knows a thing or two about how to keep it at the sharp end of the field and would love to add to his 2 points tally over the course of the 2025 season. Next up from Japan, it's Takuma Miyazono. He's a legend of the world of Gran Turismo, a 4-time champion, 17 wins over the course of his career.
Damn.
And
25% chance to win.
And add to that tally here tonight and add to his points total so far this season. Next up from the Netherlands, give it up for Kaidebrun. Kai got his first podium
Blue gloves.
in his Gran Turismo World Series career last time out in Berlin.
He loves the Red Bull X 2019s that they'll be piloting tonight as well. So let's see how well he'll get on. From Japan, give it up for Takuma
That's about how big I am,
Sasaki.
right, chat?
Takuma is a
That means I got
two-time
all the
winner
same size.
in the Gran Turismo World Series over the course of 20 starts that he's made in these championships. And you can see he's very much a fan favourite as well.
Get him out of here.
Next up, 2023 Nations Cup champion from Spain, it's Pol Ura. Pol was part of the outfit when the Nations Cup was a teams championship back in 2023, 1/3 of the drivers that won the title in that year. From Italy, give it up for Valerio Gallo, the 2021 Nations Cup world champion. He currently sits second in the points rankings. And again, would love to add to that accolade.
Where's
this
Serrano?
season with another title under his belt. And last but very not least, please give it your all for Spain's Jose Serrano.
Serrano!
He's a two-time winner in the Gran Turismo World Series alone in 2025. He's a former world champion as part of the Spanish team that won the Nations Cup back in 2023 as well. And as you can tell, he knows how to keep it at the sharp end. Let's see how he will fare against the Los Angeles crowd here today. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we ask you to please stand if you're able for the national anthem of our host nation in the United States.
Yeah, so we have got two races for you today. We have got the sprint race, which is just about to come up, and then we will have the grand final. These are the best of the best here to compete. Every single point is going to count because it's going to be even hotter by the time we get to Fukuoka. Who are some of your favorites?
I want to look at some of those cars
Give me
again.
some names. Who are you rooting for? Everyone here has got their favorite, and there's everything to play for. These guys, this is the moment. It can all crumble or it can all go your way. Let's see how it's going to go down. Here's the comp format.
Best 12 drivers in the world from the 2025 online qualifiers. 9
stuff.
countries are participating in the Nations
Thanks
Cup
for gifting
World
the sub
Series
again,
this
man.
season.
Good to see you, brother.
Spain,
Welcome back,
France,
dude.
and Japan are the most represented countries with 2 drivers each. All of the drivers will get the chance to set a time over a 1-lap attack to determine the grid for the sprint race. In the sprint, drivers will get behind the wheel of the Chaparral 2J70, and how well they perform will determine their spot for the start of the grand final.
So you get points for
All
top
12
6.
drivers will battle it out in the grand final, with only the top 6 securing World Series points. On top of getting 6 points, first place gets a shiny trophy and is declared the winner of round 3 in the Nations Cup World Series 2025.
Well, let's have a look at the World Series points rankings
Serrano's
of the
in
Nations
front.
Cup after 2
12
rounds
points.
in 2025. You can see it's Jose Serrano who's got a clean sweep at the top of the order. He has a 3-point advantage there over Valerio Gallo. Paul Ura there in 3rd position as well. Great start to his season, but it sort of tailed off in Berlin after an incorrect strategy call. Sasaki, De Bruyne, Miyazono and Drummond are the last of the point scorers. Labusele, Cardinal, Barbara, Ines Rosa and Adriana Carrazza yet to get off of the bottom of the blocks. Could this be their evening here tonight? Welcome to the GT desk for the first time in the Nations Cup, and welcome also to Parker Kligerman once again. Well, Parker, it's great to have you here. We saw some brilliant action in the Manufacturers' Cup a couple of hours ago. More of the same for the Nations.
It was absolutely awesome. Incredible finish, and I just love this Gran Turismo racing. It's incredibly close. You don't know who's going to win until that final lap. It feels like in almost every race. The Manufacturers' Cup was amazing. I can't wait for this one.
No, I'm really, really excited about it. And, of course, unlike the Manufacturers' Cup we had a couple of hours ago, the Nations' Cup doesn't have the same 12 drivers, or it has the same 12 drivers, rather than, of course, in the Manufacturers' Cup, where you've got different 12 drivers over the course of the event. So you can see here is how they qualified as part of the online qualifying season at the start of the year. So you've got drivers from North America, Central South America, Asia, Oceania, as well as the EMEA regions as well. So yeah, really, really exciting. And also, of course, for the drivers, good to have some consistency and a chance to maybe right the wrongs when things haven't gone their way. I'm thinking of the likes of Paul Ura, started this season off really, really strongly, and then in Berlin, it just didn't go his way at all.
Well, how do you beat Jose Serrano right now? He's absolutely on fire. Reminds me a bit of another Spaniard who's dominating a racing series. Alex Palou dominating IndyCar right now. It seems to be something coming out of Spain these days in terms of being just at the top of your game, no matter what you're racing. But he's obviously been amazing.
a cool coach thing to do.
Every one of these competitors got to find something.
This comes across the
No
table.
doubt about it. You can
It's
see
the easiest,
World
yes.
Finals
You're just
take place
chilling
at
out,
the,
kicking back. We just
sort of
watch something
December, right
together.
before
I like
Christmas,
doing
we
that
go
sort of
to
stuff.
Fukuoka in Japan. Scan the QR code on the
So,
bottom right-hand corner of your
works
screen.
perfect for me.
Tickets are available. They're on sale now. We would love to see you there. And hey, why not stay out for Christmas in Japan as well whilst you're at it? It's a wonderful place to go, and we're really excited to see how the championships are going to ebb and flow and evolve over the course of not only that weekend,
Nice
but also
little
here
break
this weekend in LA.
from the
as well.
normal
There's
grind.
some really exciting action to come. And of course, 2 races with 2 different sets of circumstances, different circuits, different cars, and that's a big challenge, unlike what we had in Manufacturers.
Entirely different strategy amongst these 2 races. So yeah, we get 2 opportunities to see how close they're going to race, to have a great finish, to have something really exciting happen. And you couldn't have 2 more different cars from different eras, except for the first one we'll be in is kind of an ancestor to the Red Bull X 2019.
Absolutely. Well, let's have a look at the qualifying, which took place earlier on today. So you can see this is the one-lap attack qualifying session at
Shout
the
out to
Daytona
Key, you
Road Course,
doofus.
racing soft tyres, and of course only one opportunity to set a flying lap. So if you get it wrong, well, that's your day done and dusted. And well, here are the drivers out on track at the moment. You can see this fearsome Le Mans chicane threading the eye of a needle in a GT3 car, let alone an X 2019.
Well, the X 2019, you barely check up for it and just sort of turn in and then back to the throttle and hope that you've timed it all perfectly. Then as you go through the banking here, the NASCAR banking, you're trying to just limit the track distance as much as you can. You see kind of ruin, go to the top of the board there, and then down to this fast turn 1, you have to get hard on the brakes.
You see Kai de Bruyne there setting the fastest time in
Yeah, this
qualifying.
guy's got a
Great
pretty
lap
serious,
time from the Dutchman. Continuing really the progress that he
force on his
made
wheel.
when he got onto the podium last time out at Berlin. This was Jose Serrano's attempt to try to thwart that, 3rd quickest for the championship leader. Not a bad starting position for him, and he seemed okay with it, but you can see Kai de Bruyne absolutely delighted with that, riding the crest of a wave. But it's amazing what a little bit of confidence can really do for you, because as you can see, he is now very much at the sharp end of the field by a 1/10 of a second over Kylian Drummond.
And confidence, as we say in racing, there's 2 currencies. There's money and there's confidence. And confidence is sometimes even better for a race car driver, because it's just a thing that creates performance. It creates great decision making, and ultimately it leads to having great speed. And that's what kind of Bruin had here in qualifying.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's qualifying. Of course, different set of circumstances, though, to the sprint race, which is coming along the way in a couple of moments' time. We move over from the Red Bull X 2019s. We go to the Chaparral 2J, a racing car from the 1970s, which is unlike any car that I've seen before or since, to be honest.
Yeah, because every other race series banned it after it came about. It's a fan car. It literally has a fan that sucks the air from underneath it to suck it to the ground. It's one of the most unique race cars we've ever seen, and it was kind of the birth of modern underbody aerodynamics.
Yeah, we've got the Watkins Glen long course as well, so very different circuit, very different layouts than what you've got at Daytona. And you can see 13 laps. So this race essentially is to decide the grid for the grand final. So if you haven't qualified that well in the session which we saw in the X2019s a few moments ago, you have got a chance to right the wrongs, but it's not going to be an easy task for these drivers, and especially in a car that's, I can imagine, not going to be a particularly easy one on the limit.
No, it's not, and we saw them in practice all over the racetrack with this car because it's tough to put the power down. You know, in this era, in 1970, the tires weren't the best, so it doesn't have the best mechanical grip. It's trying to achieve all that grip via aerodynamics. That means in some of the slower corners, it's tough. It's a hard one to hold on to.
A reminder of the starting grid, as you can see there. So Kydebrun will line it up on pole position. Kilian Drumont on the front row alongside him. Then it's Jose Serrano, Angel Enestrosa on the second row. Gallo and Sasaki are on row 3. And then Paul Ura ahead of the 4-time former champion, Takuma Miyazono. He's in front of Cardinal, Guy Barbara, etc., so on.
The one
and so forth.
commentator.
Now the competitors are getting themselves ready and psyched up. Of course,
from NASCAR.
I suppose the one advantage to the fact that we've got the same 12 competitors over the course of this season in the Nations Cup is they're all sort of getting used to each other's racecraft a bit more.
And that's really more normal for a racing series. As you go through the season, you race against those competitors, you start to find what makes them good in certain areas, what areas that maybe they struggle that you think you can take advantage of. And as you go through the course of a season, that's the sort of things that great race car drivers utilize to their advantage. That's what these drivers are going to do here tonight.
Yeah, no doubt about it then. Let's get ready then to go for the sprint race here at LA. The drivers then on the circuit, ready to go for the sprint race here in the Nations Cup. This is going to be hugely exciting to determine the grid for the grand final. Kydebrun lines it up on pole position. Alongside him on the front row is Kilian Drumont. Then next up on the head of row 2 is Jose Serrano, and he has got Angel Enestrosa for company alongside. Then it is Valerio Gallo. He's P5 on the grid, the Italian driver, just in front of Takuma Sasaki. Next up, Paul Ura, man who's needs to turn his fortunes around after a difficult Berlin, with Takuma Miyazono alongside. Completing the top 10 is Canada's Samuel Cardinal with Guy Barbara for company. And then next up you've got Adriano Carrazza in P11, and completing the grid is Thomas Labusle, who had some problems in qualifying. He was some 3 seconds off the pace. Now, this being a sprint race, no need to worry about tyres, no need to worry about fuel. It is flat out from lights out to the checkered flag, and it's anybody's guess as to how this will work out.
And it all starts down to turn 1, a downhill braking zone into turn 1. You'll use all the runoff that you possibly can over the curb on the exit, but then it sets up a long back straightaway here on the Watkins Glen.
He's cheating.
One of those beautiful racetracks in
peeking
all of North America.
He's peeking over.
Historic. It's a beautiful place to be, and it's an awesome place to race. Super high speed.
Yeah, no doubt about it. What about Kilian Drumont? What can he do there on the far right-hand side of your picture? Currently 7th in the standings, with just 2 points on the board so far this season. Good opportunity for him to try and turn things around. Likewise, there is Takuma Miyazono. He's currently P5 with just 4 points out of a possible 12 he could have scored so far this season. The opportunity really does knock for some drivers, and this is the first test of things, because as we said, this will determine that grid for the grand final. We're ready to go racing though.
Okay, so this is to determine the grid
here in LA as we get racing underway at Watkins Glen, and Kydebrun leads the field across the timing line and down towards the first corner. Drumont, Serrano, Enestrosa all in tow behind. Into turn 1, it's not a particularly heavy braking zone, so no dive bomb moves into there. You've got to set it up quite nicely though as we then begin to start opening up the lap, and now we'll see the drivers following in the slipstream behind, just waiting for that right opportunity to try and pounce.
And as you go through those S's, as you're following our driver, you can lose a sight a little bit, so you got to make sure you're hitting your marks correctly as we go here into the chicane a little bit. And this is a barely slow down with the grip that this thing makes here. Then as we head towards the boot, down into the extended portion of the Watkins Glen course, it starts to get into some real flowing corners.
Yeah, no doubt about it. You can see Kilian Drumont all over the back of Kydebrun as we come through this left-hander here. You can hear the tyres chirruping in pain as we come down in towards the final part of this lap. A long, lazy hairpin as we come through there, and you're just waiting and waiting and waiting to get on the power as we blast it on to the start-finish straight. You've got to be a bit careful about taking too many liberties through there. You run it wide, you'll end up with the curb on the outside, possibly the wall as well. Now, here's Kydebrun, and he's in a bit of a disadvantage because, of course, he doesn't have a slipstream. He's the one in front, punching the hole in the the air. Kylian Drumont has got the advantage of that slipstream. Can he use it to his benefit, though?
Going through turn 9, one of the slowest corners on the entire racetrack right there. Then head towards turn 10, a quick left-hander that sets up.
Damn, that looks cool from that angle.
On the front straightaway, and you can see how flowing this race course is. You don't slow down often. That makes passing hard. You're going to try and pass into turn 1 as we head down towards that. Or it was back there, turn 7. Drumont goes all the way to the outside here. Can he get there? Not quite, just showing his nose a little bit, but that's the thing. You're going to try, if you can get a good run off the final corner, to get to the inside into turn 1.
Well, that's an interesting one, isn't it? Because he didn't have a particularly bad run off the final corner for Kylian Drumont there, but you can see there, it's left him a little bit vulnerable here to the attack of Jose Serrano and Frank Helena Stroza. But the slipstream, it's effective, but it's clearly not that effective to just blast past. It's not a particularly long straight, is it? Kylian Drumont sort of moves out as we come in towards this bus stop chicane. They ride the curb over there, and you can see the car sort of chirruping over the curbs there. Looks relatively compliant.
And when you hit those curves, in real life, it knocks your head around in the car and it sort of disorients you a little bit. Here, you're just trying to use every bit of racetrack that you can get away without going over track limits through that section. And now you head down towards turn 7 here, the toe of what we call the boot at the Watkins Glen long course. So it looks a bit like a boot in some respects. And now headed to what I think is the other passing zone down into turn 8, the heel of the boot.
Oh, if that's a boot, what shape are your feet? So that's what I want
to know. It's what they call it. They've called it forever, as long as I've ever gone there. I'm not really sure. I've looked at it. It sort of looks like a boot, maybe.
Okay,
if you look at it with your eyes closed, maybe.
Yeah, okay.
Sasaki versus Miyazono side by side through this left-hander. The two Japanese drivers giving absolutely no quarter at all here. Miyazono looking to try and repay the favour there on Takuma Sasaki, who's dropped down from 7th to 6th place rather to 7th place from where he started. So he's lost 1 position, possibly set to lose 2, maybe even 3, because Guy Barbara is right in the wheel tracks of the two Japanese drivers. Miyazono pulls to the inside, but has got the advantage. Guy Barbara with an 8 lunge. That's a bit aggressive and a bit of a mistake, I feel, that he tried to turn into an overtake. He was just a bit of a day late and $1 short on the brakes there. Thankfully, he managed to avoid any serious contact.
And the problem with that move is that when you try to go to the inside there into turn 1, we're seeing a battle for the lead. Drumont's down to the inside.
Serrano's already making moves.
Drumont then it is through into the lead ahead of Jose Serrano.
He's in second now.
Well off in the back. That's Gallo, who's entered into a different postcode by the looks of things. He fired himself off into the barrier right down the order, and that is pretty much a disaster there for Valerio Gallo, because that's going to give him the mother and father of jobs to do going into that grand final from the back.
Got a real tall task to make that back up, and that can happen down there when you get side by side into the bus stop chicane. Something's got to give. You've got to get single file before you turn in, or you leave yourself at risk of firing off to the outside like he did there.
So Drumont it is that leads, Serrano in second, Stroza in third, and that's the thing you can see in this race. One mistake and you are going to be so punished so heavily, because you could lose not only time but also 3, maybe 4 places potentially if you run it a little bit wide in a certain corner, or you make a mistake and you end up firing it off into the barrier like Valerio Gallo. It can get even worse than that, to be honest with you.
Right, and now as they go through here to the second final corner and into the final corner, you want to make sure you get the best run you can out of here to not leave yourself vulnerable into turn 1. And we saw it earlier, if you go to the inside, you run the risk of getting a bad exit. That leads onto the long back straightaway, which is basically through the S's flat out, and therefore you're giving up loads of time if you go to the inside here and don't complete the pass.
Stroza was having a look to the inside there of Jose Serrano down to the first corner. Nothing doing for him.
Yeah, that was always hard about racing.
But Drumont now is in
when
the
to make your move, and
if
you're not successful in passing him, the person behind you catches you.
It's just a couple of tenths in front of Jose Serrano. Serrano looking to try and attack as they come in towards the bus stop, which you can make a move through there, but it's not the easiest part of the circuit to do so. You can see it's very tight, very narrow in particular, and you have to ride a lot of curbs. If you make a bit of a meal of it, you'll see what happened to Valerio Gallo, where you end up facing the scenery. Let's have a look at what happened then. So we're here with Kai de Brunza. He made a bit of a mistake through the first couple of corners.
Got a little wide there on the X of the S's, and once you do that, it leaves you completely vulnerable down here. He gets overtaken by 3 cars from that mistake, because that's basically a straightaway. When you leave turn 1 all the way to the bus stop, you've got to treat it like a straightaway. Any check up in your speed, you're going to pay the price.
Drumont's still doing a really good job staying up front, even though Serrano's got the slip on him.
They're banging sort of bodywork there as they come through the right-hander.
He's still like maintaining
side
serious
by side,
distance.
They sit still between the two of them. De Bruyn's lost 4 places from where he started. He was on pole position, if you remember, and he's on a trajectory that's seeing him go backwards in this race. He tries to retaliate on the attack against Pole Euro, but that might leave him vulnerable to the charge of Sasaki and Miyazono, who are right in his wheel tracks here.
That was very messy in some respects, but Pole Hero was able to make it work to his advantage. He got very loose there out of 8, then towards 9 was able to gather up, was played defensive and held on to the spot as they head down to turn 1.
Yeah, through that first corner we go. Lap 5 out of 13. Still plenty of time left in this race for the complexion of it to change. Angelo Estroza kept his powder pretty dry over the course of the first portion of this race for now. And you can see as we make our way through this right-hander. I just had a look at the tyre usage requirement, and we are actually going to require a pit stop in this race, so that's a bit of a unique thing.
But you don't need to change a set of tires. You can, but it adds 6 seconds to the pit stop essentially, so it's a mandatory pit stop, but you don't have to change tires.
Right, interesting. So that's going to make things...
So no one's taking tires then?
One would imagine there, because say if you don't change your tires, then obviously you're going to gain a bit of time in terms of track position then, in theory. Let's have a look at what happened to Valerio Gallo while we're figuring all that out. Oh, he just got a bit too much curve on the, yeah, a bit too much curve on the inside, and that just sent him straight to the scene of the crash, basically, on the barrier. So an unforced error for Valerio Gallo there, unfortunately. But yeah, we'll see how the strategy for the pits is going to work out for this one.
That happens.
Drummond has got Jose Serrano and Angelo Estroza still very close for company behind. But I have to say, they're being all pretty well behaved at this point.
Yeah, but Serrano keeps looking to the inside, occasionally down into turn 1, just sort of peeking that nose out a little bit. Once again, sending a message. We saw this in the Manufacturers' Cup earlier tonight. Drivers who are just trying to show that, hey, I'm here, I can make this move if I want to, but I'm choosing not to at this time. We're almost working together to try and maximize lap time at this time.
Okay, so we have to make one pit stop then in this race. It's mandatory, but you don't have to change tyres. Laboutelet's decided to do that at the end of lap 5, the beginning of lap 6.
He is getting tyres changed.
How do you decide when to make
Wait, maybe that's got a crash though.
And you know, how does your strategy work out? Do you decide to get it out of the way early and hope that you get a bit of clear air? Because if that doesn't work out and you end up right on the back of somebody, it could cost you time and then ultimately cost you the position that you were fighting for pre-pit stop.
I assume some of the mid-pack would probably be the first to pit road for that exact reason, get into cleaner air, start to rip some really fast lap times, whereas these leaders here who sort of find themselves getting away from the mid-pack are going to utilize this time to feel like they're drafting, they're making up some good lap time at this point, as long as the tires hold on.
Look at Jose Serrano, he's all over the back of Kylian Drummond like a cheap suit here as we come through this left-hander. Just no room for him to use that extra momentum that he's got, and to be honest, I don't think he's particularly that bothered at this point. We're only at the halfway stage now of this race. There's so much time for him to think about where he's going to be making those moves, and you don't want to do anything too rash because it can cost you a lot more than you'd be set to gain.
He got pretty sideways there out of turn 8, so just managing the rear tires, you're starting to see them sort of give out a little bit sort of wear at this point in time. This car really hurts those rear tires for sure, especially out of here, is that you're just putting a lot of energy and stress through that right rear tire. You see Jose Serrano get a little bit sideways.
Oh, penalty for colliding.
That's a shame for Pole Euro. He's picked up a 1-second penalty for colliding with another car. That's going to drop him down behind De Bruyn for certain, possibly behind Sasaki. Let's have a look at the battle though for the lead as they all come and filter into the pit lane. I thought that might be the case. It's a case of follow the leader. One blinks, they all blink because they just want to maintain track position. They're sort of forcing their hand really there, aren't they?
Yeah, you're basically saying, hey, we're all just going to do this in lockstep and now try to race it out on the racetrack, not trying to use a different strategy at that point and thinking this is probably the fastest time to do this race.
Can Laboutelet and Gallo try and take profit? Because they pitted a bit earlier on in this one. As you can see, nobody's changing tyres in particular there. As you can see, they're staying on the soft tyres. Not really much point about it. Out of the pit lane we go. Let's have a look at Laboutelet. Where's he emerging? Because he's at racing speed and his tyres, of course, will be up to temperature. They won't have dropped off. So he's now back in the race and he's in 8th position. So it's worked out okay there for Thomas Laboutelet. He's right in the thick of the action. He'll be there ready to try and take profit. Meanwhile, at the sharp end of this one, Serrano versus Drummond. We come down towards this chicane. Serrano's got the inside line. He's got track
No.
position, and now we've got P2. Lovely stuff.
Really nice pass. That was beautiful down there into the bus stop. Drummond played it correctly. You got to just give and take a little bit down in that corner. Going side by side just slows you up so much, especially at this point of the race. Out of the pits, you just want to try and
we heard about that. We heard about that news. They were telling us.
Really nicely here for
the downforce from a fan.
4 seconds. As you can see, he's got a nice comfortable cushion. He's made his mandatory pit stop, and he's cleared off into the distance. Eura's about to serve that 1-second penalty, but given how close the field is out on track. So actually the drivers did change tyres in that one. I wonder whether they would or they wouldn't. So Inestrosa, that's why he's now in the lead.
The only one.
Yeah, he's the only one who didn't change the tyres, and that's going to leave him quite vulnerable, you would imagine, because what, 4 seconds? It's an advantage, but it's not exactly insurmountable.
Let's see. We'll see if that plays out for them.
So the people that switch tires
in terms of the Gran Turismo
are all
World
these
Series,
guys.
trying to
The
utilize
only
these
one
different
who
rules
did
to your
not
advantage.
switch
We'll
tires,
see
or
if
I don't know
Jose
about the
Serrano's
only
got
one,
the speed to start
but
and
is
run
the guy
him
in first
down
right now with a
just looking at
4-second lead.
Inestrosa's tires, they're not terrible considering the amount of laps that he has on them, but it's
But look
really
at
about
Serrano's,
maximizing his
look at
lap time
Serrano
right now.
ticking down on the time, the interval.
At the moment, down the start-finish straight.
They're slowly catching him.
towards the first turn. Nice and neat and tidy for him. Cardinals just serving.
Serrano's just constantly moving down on the interval.
Gallo, who's trying to fight back after that earlier trip to the barrier. Euro with that penalty dropped down to 7th position, but he's only about a second or so off, so he's still pretty much within slipstreaming range. If he can put together a couple of clean laps, he might be able to get himself onto the back of Takuma Miyazono. The win probably is going to be a little bit out of question, but we'll see how it works out for him. Meanwhile, Inestrosa and Serrano, the gap now from 3.7 seconds down to just 3 seconds, so that's nearly a second or so that the prevailing field have managed to close up over the course of this lap. Might leave Inestrosa, and probably will leave him quite vulnerable at the end of this one.
It's going to come down to Kenny Block. Kenny Block, how's it going to time out? Most likely, just looking at the timing here, they are definitely going to catch him with at least a lap, maybe 2 or so to go.
Paul Ura and Thomas Labousse under investigation for a collision there as well. So
they're under
we'll see
investigation.
How that one has all worked out. They're in 7th and 8th place there, respectively. Ura in front of Labousse.
So there is a mandatory pit, but you do not have to get new tires. So everybody else back here got new tires. And the guy in first place did not take them. It takes 6 seconds to get new tires.
Inestrosa to have some options and not have to protect at the same time that he's trying to be on offense when he's trying to get by Inestrosa. So as he continues to gap the drivers behind him, that's helping him out. It's hurting Inestrosa. He would hope that they would get to them and be racing each other closely.
Serrano's starting to get a gap from third.
Down to 1.6 seconds between Inestrosa and Serrano. Last time around for Inestrosa a 1:31.3, Serrano a 1:29.
Serrano is catching this guy fast.
2 seconds faster than the leader. It is a case of when and not if. With 3.5 laps remaining of this one, Inestrosa is going to be a bit of a sitting duck.
Inestrosa can still defend really well, but he's time-wise getting caught.
You can see how close the field is, and also all the drivers, as we know,
Serrano is catching.
Fresh, soft tyres, so it's now a case of damage limitation here for Angel Inestrosa.
He's running for his life right now. For everything he's got, he's pushing as hard as he can to try and just continue to keep this gap as much as he can. He knows Jose Serrano is going to get there, but the question is, when he does he choose to sort of just let him go and try to maximize the time loss here instead of trying to hold him off and sort of slow him up and allow Dumont and the cars behind to get to him there? That's going to be a choice he's going to have to make and almost time this out when Jose Serrano gets to him.
So then, through the left-hander we go in towards the final couple of corners on this circuit. Serrano sitting there in 2nd position. Inestrosa in the lead of this race, now down to half a second. So Serrano is going to be right on his gearbox through this final corner, and you would imagine planning a move down in towards the first turn as well. On board we right here with then Jose Serrano.
Here we go.
He's got the advantage of the
battle.
He'll have a lot more grip under braking there as well. He doesn't decide to lunge it down into T1. It's a risky one there because you can see it's quite tight and there's a big curve on the outside of it. So you would imagine a good run through these S-bends, and
it's going to be even harder now. Serrano's got a draft on him, so it's going to be even crazier. He should let him go and then just stay in second with him.
Alongside one another into the bus stop chicane. Serrano goes through and into the race lead once again.
And that was the best case scenario for Inestrosa there, to have him pass down the straightaway into the bus stop. There's the least amount of time lost going side by side. Now he's going to do his best to try and hold off Dumont.
Yeah, I can imagine that is going to be a particularly difficult task, as well as there for Kai de Bruyne, who might be able to try and take profit if Giron does get held up there behind Inestrosa. He's got
oh,
the
man.
Look at that. That was decisive and clinical for Drew.
Oh, man. Bruyne follows him through.
And he just said, look, I've got to make as much ground as I can. And he's threw it into 3rd position, looking to try and launch.
Yo, he's trying to make a move on him now. Oh, no, he's not. No, he's not. I thought Bruyne was going.
Quite ajar enough for de Bruyne to launch an attack into that next right-hander. Through to the left we go then. Serrano now leads, and all the while they were stuck behind there was stuff behind Inestrosa. He's now dropped down to 5th place, by the way. It's got to them a bit of time, and you can see the gap now for Jose Serrano. He's built that up to over a second.
Yeah, he was really able to vault away, and they were sort of caught up here as we go on board with Paul Ura.
We're going to see the two Japanese drivers, Miyazono and Sasaki, have a bit of a tete-a-tete through the left-hander, I think, and he sends Sasaki into the wall, and Ura takes profit of it and slides himself up into 6th place.
He said, thank you very much.
Yeah, nice and easily done. Yeah, they're under investigation for one another as well. I should imagine they won't be on each other's Christmas cards list after that. Cardinal's gone for an interesting two-stop
Ain't sending him no Christmas cards anymore. Yo, Hida, thank you so much, by the way, brother. Appreciate you. Thanks for being here for a million years, dude. Much love for that commitment, dude. Supporting me. Many more years chilling together, brother.
In 3rd position, and look at this, Takuma Miyazono right on his back bumper here. And let's see whether the Japanese driver, the 4-time world champion, is going to be able to launch an attack. It looks like Sam Cardinal's retired from this race, the Canadian driver. Whether he's got some technical problems, I don't know. But either way, for him, it has not worked out at all. And he'll be starting that grand final right from the very back of the grid, unfortunately.
Takuma's looking for the run here down into turn 8, just hoping to have a little bit of momentum, maybe try to set up from the final corner down into turn 1. We've seen that move be attempted a couple times, or hold back and try to use it down into the bus stop. If you're keeping up with Inestrosa, who qualified 4th for this race, not the no tire strategy, he's all the way back to 8th right now. That has not panned out for him.
No, it's a gamble, and he didn't pay off. I mean,
Inestrosa from 1st to 8th, man. Dude, the tires are that big of a difference. Is insane, huh?
Risk, and unfortunately, the reward is not there for the taking. Down in 8th position as the best he can hope for as it stands.
Here we go. This guy's making a move for sure.
He's got the inside line down into T1. Can he make
Broke
that
later
stick?
too.
Brilliant if he can.
Yo, Ura though.
De Bruyne's going to get shoveled to the curb on the outside.
Ura follows him through.
2 places in the space of 1 corner. So Miyazono and Ura are through for 3rd and 4th place now, respectively. Ura on the attack against Miyazono. What a fantastic run he's had through the first couple of corners. Miyazono knows that.
Miyazono's defending. Bruin might follow him through.
Ready to try and take profit of it as well through the bus of chicane.
Oh, he bumped him a little. Bruin follows him through.
On the inside as well. So Ura goes from attacking to defending to losing places.
What an awesome bit of battling there amongst these drivers.
That was good from Bruin.
You possibly could there. Paul Ura was trying to stay there, but he just couldn't. And at that point, he couldn't get through the bus stop correctly. You're out of phase. You're out of the line, and that opened up the door for Kai de Bruin.
Yeah, worked really nicely there for Kai de Bruin, and he lives to fight another day. Let's see whether Ura can launch a retaliation. It's brought Labutale and Sasaki right back into play then here for this one as well. Miyazono is the man on the move though. What have we got? A lap and a half now remaining, so not much
Serrano's just cooking him, dude. Look how far out he is.
But he's pretty much stabilized at about 1.2 seconds.
There's levels of racing.
Of Kylian Drumont, and subsequently then another further 1.6 seconds. He is in front of Takuma Miyazono, so maybe not a battle for the podium.
Serrano's crazy.
That we're going to see to the end of this one, but you never know.
Oh, Bruin didn't get as good of a shot in that corner.
It was an optimistic move by De Bruin there through turn 8. It's left him vulnerable here to Paul Ura as we go down the front stretches. He tried to do what Miyazono did a lap before. Yes, he's looking to the inside, doesn't quite get there, thinks better of it. Now he'll try to set up for the exit and down towards the bus.
Kind of hurt him a little bit because he didn't get the line that he wanted, trying to do a little fake. He didn't leave himself enough time to go back out to the race line, so he took that corner a little bit. Not incredible.
Butale's there lurking in the background as well as Takuma Sasaki. This is the final lap of action, and this is the race that will decide the grid for the grand final. No further action between Sasaki and Miyazono as they came to blows a few laps ago. They kick up grass and dust and dirt on this final lap as they are really beginning to.
Serrano's already on the next track, bro.
It's really De Bruin just trying to hold off Ura at this point. Right now, that the 3rd place Miyazono has been able to get just a bit far enough away that I feel like he can hold on to as long as he hits his marks through these last set of corners in this lap. But it's really a battle there for 4th. If Miyazono can get, let's look at the inside. De Bruin didn't quite get there, trying everything he can.
Yeah, certainly did there, did Kai de Bruin, but again, just pushing the limits a little bit too hard. On board here with Ura, who's got that unfortunate position of trying to attack, but also defend as well, because Labutale's there, ready to try and pounce. Just a few more corners now remaining here at Watkins Glen, unless a desperate lunge comes on the inside for Kai de Bruin. He was trying to think about a move there, but it just wasn't ready.
Damn, I didn't see the move.
And I think Miyazono, if he can just hold his line and not fluff it into the final couple of corners, he'll be able to hold on to 3rd place. Meanwhile, what a drive from Jose Serrano, who comes through to take the victory in the sprint race and pole position for the grand final. He wins it here at Watkins Glen ahead of Killian Drummond and Takuma Miyazono.
Bro, Inestrosa went from first and then added a 0. Damn.
But again, we're running out of superlatives.
Damn. Yo, I gotta move my camera. I'm blocking their cameras.
Jose Serrano is on supreme form in 2025.
I'm gonna go bottom right.
He's won both of the grand finals, and he picks up another sprint race for his troubles as well.
Absolutely at the top of his game, and you can see it in every decision.
I think I'm blocking their camera.
He has the speed, obviously, that he has right now, and throughout that whole race there, it was just obvious. He knew when to sort of hold back, and then when to try and strike. There wasn't
Sorry
many
about that, guys.
optimistic
I didn't
moves.
even
There were
realize.
decisive moves that
My
went
fault,
in
my
his favor,
fault.
and then when it was up for offering to go for the win, he was able to drive away from the field, create the gap he needed, run down Inestrosa, and set sail.
Yeah, very well done to him. Commiserations, though, to the likes of Angel Inestrosa and also to Valerio Gallo there as well. Inestrosa tried an alternative strategy, wasn't one that paid off for him, and Gallo, of course, we saw him having an incident into the wall as well. But this is how the race panned out. We saw Kaida Bruin beginning this one on pole position. He started at the sharp end of the field ahead of Drummond and Jose Serrano. Pretty close and clean affair at the sharp end of this one. We saw Yura making a move on Sasaki in the opening couple of laps. There's a bit of hip and shoulder between those two drivers as they made their way through that hairpin. This was Valerio Gallo's undoing, though, as he just took too much curb on the inside of the bus stop, and that saw him going backwards and into the barrier. Then we saw a smashing of pit stops, and we missed this one initially, but Inestrosa pitted but didn't change tyres, unlike the rest of the field. It left him at the sharp end of the race with a near 4-second advantage as they started making moves behind. But ultimately, as his tyres wore down, everybody else began to speed up, and it left him very vulnerable in the closing stages.
And Jose Serrano was able to make this decisive pass down into the bus stop, and from this point onward, he just
I thought Inestrosa was at least going to hold on to like a top 3, top 4.
They all battled it out. So we see here,
Dude, my head's in the way again, bro. You can't see the speedometer. I'll figure out where to put the camera.
Really nice
we'll see when it starts again.
Super defensive here at Poliura, and this all boiled up down into the bus stop where they were all together, but Jose Serrano got the win.
Yeah, amazing job from Jose Serrano. Let's go down and catch up with the winner of
you
the
think
sprint
top
race.
right
We'll
was just
start
okay?
on pole position for the grand final. He's with Jules.
Yeah, I'm here with Jose Serrano, and who can doubt that 2025 has certainly been your year. But before we get into that, I think everybody here wants to know, like, what was it like driving that car in like a full-on race?
It's super funny. Except on the chicane is jumping the car, so except all that, it's incredible to drive the car.
Yeah, it's actually quite fun. It's not too difficult.
It's funny, yeah.
It's fun.
For me, it's funny.
Yeah, well, I mean, you did all right. I don't know if everyone else would say it's fun. That's not a... But obviously, this year has really been your year. You seem to keep being completely consistent and pulling it out the bag. And you've only got, like, one more little race in a minute, and then you got 3 for 3. Well, how confident are you feeling?
I'm really confident with myself. I'm relaxed, calm, as always, so let's see what happens in Daytona.
Just so casual, just so consistent and yet so casual. Let's give it up for a big round of applause for Jose Serrano. Honestly, he is, look, he's not even barely sweating, barely a bead of sweat on your forehead. There you go. And let's right now to Tom and Parker.
Cheers, Jules.
Yeah, mental.
Jose Serrano continues his clean sweep so far in 2025. He wins the sprint race by 1.8 seconds over Killian Drummond. Miyazono there.
This is a video game. No need to wear gloves. Yes, there is.
Alongside him.
Don't you say that blasphemy around here. I have gloves.
Yeah, and I think really the drive to me was Takuma Miyazono to go all the way up the third there. That really great pass into turn 1 was incredible, and it puts him in a great position here for the final. And I just think what he showed there was being able to move his way through the field between strategy and decisive moves on the racetrack, and to get the all-important track position, which every driver will tell you where you start is a huge advantage. It didn't work out for Kaida Bruin here in the sprint race, but he stays in the top 4. That's within striking distance for the final.
8th on the grid to 3rd at the checkered flag for Takuma Miyazono, and also Thomas Labusle. He started last in that race and finished P6 at the end of that one. Phenomenal job indeed from our drivers. Really, really excited for the grand final.
You got points from last place to points.
Now, as we might have mentioned a couple times, after a 7-year hiatus, we have brought back the GT Awards, which has got to be one of the best competitions I've ever heard of, which is, as a GT fan, getting to get your car in the game. I mean, unbelievable stuff. So, do you want to know who's won?
Yes. Talk about the guys' cars outside, right? The ones that we're looking at?
What car you're going to be driving? I thought you might. Hold on. I have an envelope and everything. It's very, very Hollywood. One sec. I need 2 hands. Oh, wait, do you want to? You could. Do you, ooh. Okay. Are you ready? Drum roll, please. Come on, louder. This is huge. All right, I can tell you the winner is Big Mike. His car is the 1992 Honda Prelude. Pretty cool. Okay, so we got a little bit of info about this, all right? So Big Mike, he's coming here. We go. He's a journalist who bought his 1992 Honda Prelude 20 years ago before setting about his renovation and mod build. Every bit of the car engine and body is bespoke to Mike's specifications, and it pays homage to the Japanese style with a nod to USA car culture mixed with a little bit of Mike's
Pretty cool.
taste. You guys are going to be driving his car.
That is
That's
pretty
super
fucking
cool.
cool. Your
Massive
car in the game.
congratulations. Let's throw it back to Tom and to Parker.
Yeah, thank you very much indeed, Jules. What an incredible prize for Big Michael, probably Large Michael as his mother calls him there. amazing job. And
That's so cool.
What a
Big
phenomenal
Mike.
car. What a
Mom
work
probably
of
calls
art.
him Large
Beautiful.
Michael.
Every one of those cars out there was amazing. The passion that these individuals have for their cars and tuning them, and creativity they have and what they look like and what they put behind in tuning them is awesome. How cool to have that car immortalized in a video game. It's amazing.
Yeah, incredible. Anyway, as much as I'd love to talk about Honda Prelude all night, more important matters, including this place. Daytona Road Course is the venue for the grand final. This is a circuit you know particularly well, Parker.
Yes, and this particular one was made famous by the Rolex 24, but we're going to be racing some cars that are far faster than anything we've ever seen go around this racetrack here. It's an absolutely awesome track, and what we've got ahead of us with 30 laps.
The car is the Red Bull X
Yeah, you
2019.
can see racing hard, medium and soft tyres available for the drivers. This is what we reckon the strategy might break down like, but often we see drivers throwing caution to the wind and deciding to do their own strategies. They're working it all out on the fly. You've got tyre wear to consider for this one. You've got fuel to consider for that as well. So they're going to have to do a bit of fuel saving over the course of this race. You can see the difference in the
I don't even know how you save fuel while you're racing. I don't know how they do that
0.6
shit.
of a second slower for the mediums, a second of a lap slower for the hards, and they must use each of the tyre compounds in the race.
Yeah, and take everything we say about strategy with a grain of salt. We've not always been correct in the past, so we'll see. But this race car, the Red Bull X 2019, absolutely insane race car, but really designed to be what the human maybe with a G-suit could survive driving. It's absolutely insane to drive this in Gran Turismo because it's just so mind-bogglingly fast. It creates an insane amount of grip, and it really sort of makes you rethink any course you drive it at.
Absolutely. Well, Parker, you had a closer look at this Daytona Road Course circuit in these Red Bull X 2019s earlier on.
What the fuck?
I have to say, it's a really interesting track, this one.
Yes.
And especially turn one, because you're trail braking, you've got camber, you've got it's a bit of a pain to get a car around.
It's a
It
concept
really is.
car.
It's a difficult corner because you come off the banking there at top speed. In these, it's almost 200 miles per hour, 320 kilometers an hour, and the track sort of flattens out. Then you go across the banking through some bumps, and you've got to get this car completely slowed up. The left side's as close as you can be to that white line, a little better than I did right here. We'll see the pro drivers do it, but it's definitely a very unique corner for all the reasons you mentioned. Is you control that braking all the way down from over 200 miles an hour or 320 kilometers an hour to roughly 60 miles per hour through the center, and then apply the throttle back on exit where it's really easy to spin the rear tires.
Well, the winner campaign has been going on throughout the entirety of this evening, and Takuma Miyazono, no surprise at all, he always seems to be a fan favourite. He's got 68% of the vote, the lion's share, as one would call it.
People like him,
Serrano,
huh?
the man, of course, who is the dominant winner of the World Series events so far this season. I have to say that Takuma Miyazono, I mean, if his form is anything like what we saw in that sprint race, I mean, you'd be hard to bet against him as well.
I feel like we've been hanging out too much because I was going to say the same exact thing. If he brings anything like we saw in the sprint race, he absolutely has a chance. But that guy in the middle there, Jose Serrano, is absolutely on form and on fire right now and just doesn't seem to make a single mistake. It's going to take everything Miyazono's got to try and overcome it.
Yeah, absolutely. What about the drivers that perhaps have got less to lose, should we say? Those that are at the back of the grid, maybe their sprint race didn't go so well. I'm thinking of the likes of Valerio Gallo and also Angelina Stroza after that mistake in strategy. how do you plan that race? How do you play it?
Well, if you're Gallo, though, you know you're in the thick of this points battle right now coming to this race, second in the points. So you've got to sort of think maybe about, hey, I don't know if I can win, but how can I get points? And that might go into his strategy. We've seen all sorts of different strategies in these races. I don't think this race will be any different for him. It might be doing that strategy that he thinks in his mind, that's a bit risky, but why not? Why not take the chance at least to get to the points to help him in the championship?
No doubt about it. Well, we are just moments away from getting the grand final underway for the Nations Cup, so let's get ourselves down to Jules one last time.
Okay, we are but moments away from the grand final of the Nations Cup, round 3. Los Angeles, are you ready? This is going to be a good one. Don't go anywhere. Let's hear it, Los Angeles!
Uh-oh. Someone's got it. Who's turned the vacuum on? Let's do it.
So then it all comes down to this. Gran Turismo World Series 3, the Nations Cup about to get underway here in Los Angeles. It has been a long wait for these drivers, and they are sitting in their sim rigs not far away from the time to go racing, and we'll be keen to see how this one is going to get on in these Red Bull X 2019. You see the competitors out on the screen at the moment, and here we
have
are,
a different
ready and lined up on the grid for the grand final. So let's run you through how they are going to be lining up here.
You little monster, I know it's starting.
Of course, the sprint race results reflect
I don't think he does. He's just got something on it.
And we'll be over to that in just a few moments' time. A couple of technical problems here in Los Angeles.
Chewie, come here, bud.
To the tension for the drivers, because things like this do, of course, happen when you're in the racing car. Maybe things don't always go according to plan, and you've got to just roll with the punches.
That's part of being a racing driver, right? You've got to overcome some unexpected consequences, unexpected things that happen, especially with the mechanical component of racing. This is no different here in sim racing, and I think you saw some of the drivers like, hey, get going, because they're in the mode. They're ready to go. They've thought about this. They know exactly how they want to tackle these first few laps, maybe what the strategy is, and the best part for a race car driver is to actually get racing. And in that moment of anticipation is the toughest point.
Well, that reminds you of the
anticipation in all competition is rough.
As we know, has won 2 from 2 so far in 2025.
I know, same thing I would deal with in Counter-Strike is waiting for before a match starts, dude. It's always the worst. It always takes once the first round gets underway and you start shooting at people, start to get in your groove a little.
Point scorers there, so you've still got another 5 drivers who are yet to score a point in 2025.
Is that why you walked in the fire? That's why.
To do so before the World Finals. So there's still
too much anticipation.
It's still pretty tight in the standings, but yeah, you'd have to say for the likes of Angel Enestrosa and some other drivers who were expected to be on the sharper end of the field, they've got a fair bit of work to do to try and turn their season around.
And if you're Jose Serrano, you're loving what just came out of the sprint race there. With Gallo, who was at the back of that race, so now he knows he'll be starting towards the back right now, so he's got a huge advantage in track position right at the start. Possibly could build up that championship lead right now as we go into this final race. For a guy that's been undefeated this year, he's loving all the things he saw through that sprint race.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Jose Serrano, as we say, he's just been on in imperious form so far in the 2025 season, and we're running out of superlatives to describe his performances. What about Valerio Gallo, though? Is he on the back foot going into this race? You can see him there second in the championship standings, but that sprint race did not go according to plan.
Yeah, I just think he's in a position where he might have to change his thought process.
This is a weird car, though, so it might not be
stop the bleeding a little bit in this. What
showcasing exactly how it'll go, you know?
He might be thinking, how can I utilize the strategy, the 3 stops we're going to have here with 3 different tires, hard, medium, and soft. What can he do that maybe isn't about winning, but it's just about simply getting in the points to stop that bleeding?
Absolutely, and 30 laps over the course of this circuit as well is going to make things quite interesting. There's a lot of high-speed corners here at the Daytona road course. Not
30 laps, so there's way more strats involved,
especially not in this car, the X2019.
When you're gonna,
really
what tires to be on, gas consumption, when to fucking
but you will
pit.
be drafting as we go to the oval portions of the Daytona road course. Massive draft effect.
30 laps.
Within 2 seconds, you're going to start.
I remember
Gran
Turismo 1. It was a 40-lap race to unlock the best car.
Possibly, and if you're running the draft, you can lean off that throttle, keep your speed up because of the draft, and save a bit of fuel, which could help in the overall time of the race.
Yeah, absolutely, and you can see there the penalty line as well. So if any drivers do exceed track limits or they have some contact with another driver that could have been avoided, that penalty line is at the fastest point on the circuit, and you're just hemorrhaging it all the way down until turn 1.
No, it's a massive penalty to get that there because these cars are approaching 320 kilometers an hour as they go through that banking there and get slowed down and then have to re-accelerate in that portion of the track. You will lose a tremendous amount of time getting a penalty.
Well, with just a few minutes to go then, let's get ourselves down to Jules once again as the slightly delayed start to this race and get our crowd hyped up here in Los Angeles.
Well, the gallery said that you weren't excited enough last time, so we want to hear an even bigger cheer for the Nations Cup Grand Final here in Los Angeles. Let's make some noise!
So nice we did it twice.
It's so nice we did it twice.
12 drivers lining up on the grid, 6 points on offer, and only one can be crowned the winner of World Series 3 in 2025 here in Los Angeles.
All right, let's go.
This is going to be hugely exciting to see what will happen as
I like the red gloves.
drivers are ready to go for the start of this race. Let's work out how they all line up on the grid. The sprint race decided it just a few moments ago, and it sees Jose Serrano, the championship leader, lining up on pole position. Kylian Drumont is alongside him on that front row of the grid. Row 2 is headed by the quadruple world champion Takuma Miyazono, with Kai de Bruyne, the debutant podium man from Berlin, alongside. Then Paul Ura heads the third row of the grid in fifth place ahead of Thomas Labusa.
Sorry about that in the last one.
The sprint and managed to get to 6th of the checkered flag. He's just in front of Takuma Sasaki and Adriano Carrazza. Next up on the grid, you've got Guy Barbara in P9, and completing the top 10 is Angel Inestrosa, whose mistaken strategy cost him very dear. Valerio Gallo, second
added a 0 to his placement
ahead of this grand final, and Samuel Cardinal P12 as well. Now, we've got a difference in tyres at the start of this race. Soft, medium, and hards available for the drivers.
Do we just start and get crazy, or is there a safety car to follow,
at the sharp end
or whatever
of this race? What do you think that's all about?
I think it's exactly what we discussed. It's thinking twice how to do
they're
something
starting
different,
off,
especially for Valerio Gallo, who comes in this race second in points, having a disastrous
rolling
sprint
start,
race
that's
there,
what I mean.
puts him at the back of the field. He's thinking maybe not just about winning, but it's just moving himself forward towards the points. You have to do something different, knowing he'll be in a bit of traffic early on, and see if this can work to his favor.
Yeah, I imagine the idea, of course, with the hard tyres is
nice
get
glasses
as soon as you possibly can. The hard tyres like lava, basically. You don't want to be on it for as short as a distance as you possibly can, given the pace difference between the soft, medium, and the hard tyres. So get them out of the way, get yourselves onto the medium or the soft tyres, and make some progress in the middle to the latter stages of this race. But Jose Serrano will lead the field around the final corner and across the line as we get the grand final underway here for the Nations Cup in Gran Turismo World Series 3 in Los Angeles. We're in the Daytona road course, and we're coming down towards the first turn with Serrano leading from Kylian Drumont. On the brakes we go. Already moves being made in the background there, with Cardinal having more grip under braking. He was looking for a move on Valerio Gallo. Also, Ura coming under pressure from Thomas Labutale as well. We come to the infield section for the first time. Pretty even Stevens and pretty fair and sharp at the front of the field. But let's see how it all works out as we come through the fast left-hander and in towards this hairpin.
Yes, the other horseshoe. The first one's the international horseshoe, and this shoots you towards turn 6, which leads on to the first portion of the banking, one of the most important corners on this racetrack. It's tough to get the power down right here. The track kind of falls away to the outside. You see a little wiggle there for Miyazono. That will happen lap after lap.
Yeah, no doubt about it. On board here we are then with Kylian Drummond on the banking then. You can see Jose Serrano's gone for a low part of the banking there, and he's able to hold the speed quite nicely. We come down in towards the what was known as the bus stop chicane, now known as the Le Mans chicane. We flick it through that left-hander. You can hear it's just sort of a courtesy lift as you go through there, shift it down the gearbox and run it as close to the grass and clip the grass actually on the outside of it. But Jose Serrano doing a great job leading this one. A couple of tenths in front of Kylian Drummond. Here though is Takuma Miyazono sitting in the wheel tracks of Kai de Bruyne. You've got Paul Ura.
Wasn't Miyazono third? Dropped to fourth?
Indeed, and here comes Kylian Drummond. Side by side he is now with Jose Serrano to take the lead of the race as we come across the timing line for the first time of asking. He's through and into the lead. He's kicking off behind there as well. You've got Kai de Bruyne, who is side by side with Takuma Miyazono as we come through the first corner. De Bruyne now up and into third place.
And you saw how tight it was. They were 2 by 2 by 2 down into turn 1. You saw the pass there by Drummond around the outside. That's the effect of the draft, and you're going to continually see that throughout this race. Drivers, as long as they stay close enough together through the infield portion, there's so many opportunities to make passes utilizing the draft through the oval portion of the Daytona road course. And that's what every driver's thinking as they go here towards turn 6. How can I get the best run to stay as close as I can and then utilize that draft to make a pass?
Yeah, on board here then with Thomas Laboutelet. So he's made a position up from where he started. He was P6 on the grid. Just to remind you,
playing a long game.
Into 5th position at the expense of Paul Ura. Barbara, Inestrosa and Gallo, they were the 3 outliers. They started this one on the hard compound of tyre. And you wonder how their race is going to play out. We come down then in towards the chicane once more, and it's kind of damage limitation for those 3 drivers in the opening stages of this race here, Parker.
Right, that's really, if you look at Gallo in last right now, utilizing those tires, we'll see how long they choose to stay on them. Probably the shortest amount of time possible, then to get to the medium.
Gallo's in a bit of trouble.
The sauces are on board with Miyazono now.
Losing
Look to
time.
the inside. Now pops to the outside, possibly.
Gaining
Didn't
it
quite
now.
have the momentum right there. He chooses to stay behind Laboutelet to the outside right now into 1. That's usually tough. The track is off camber there if you get too far to the outside and you'll sort of fall away from you.
Yeah, Drummond and Serrano were side by side for the race lead at that point there as well. But Laboutelet,
I'm in the way of the map now, chat.
This one, or at least trying to want to
You guys be okay without the map. It's pretty short. It's pretty much
but nothing doing for them at the moment.
a lot of
De
oval
Bruyne
and then like
sitting
this
in
section.
3rd position, just keeping his powder dry at the moment. Just doesn't want to let the likes of Drummond and Serrano get away. Subsequently, they want to be a little bit careful about battling against one another, because if they do, it'll drop them right into the clutches of the prevailing field, and they are hungry and ready to pounce.
Yeah, you don't want to be side by side. So here in turn 6 onto the banking right now. And I have to wonder if Jose Serrano sort of let Drummond get there just to utilize a little bit of draft. We talked about fuel saving could possibly be a part of this race. They can't quite go.
Oh, you think second place can fuel save a little bit easier than first, right?
The thought process there.
Since he has the draft?
Utilizing a bit of that draft to save some fuel.
So on board here,
That's
then
interesting.
With Thomas
I never
Laboutelet.
thought
What
about
are
that.
the key parts of this circuit here, Parker? Yeah, how do you
these things are
set a fast lap
floored.
time? How do you make sure that you've got the secrets of Daytona?
In most cars, I would say the infield for sure, the international horseshoes, and the turn 6 leading onto the back straightaway, and then your X out of the bus stop. In the X 2019, I'm not quite sure. It's incredibly fast. The bus stop is not a traditional corners. You see Serrano go to the outside, Drummond. I guess he wasn't saving fuel, of course, like I said, because he chooses to go back to the lead right now. And sometimes you see that at this racetrack in certain cars where you use that. Oh, De Bruyne spinning out there.
Yeah, big moment there. De Bruyne, the big loser in all of that. And we saw other drivers going off onto the grass. Sasaki's dropped down the order as well. So that's kicked
Still
off
ahead of
the
Gallo.
sort of battle for the podium places there, really. The upshot is it's now Serrano that leads. Drummond in 2nd, and Miyazono is up and into 3rd.
Miyazono went up into 3rd.
Into 4th position. So we've lost one of the competitors from that battle for the podium. And Miyazono and De Bruyne are now under investigation with one another for that collision. I'd love to see a replay because we only really caught the back end of that crash. And I wonder whether Miyazono was the aggressor in that instance. Through onto the banking we go for the 4th time out of 30, and we've got to keep an eye on the tyre wear for the mediums as well, because of course they're a bit of a halfway house between the hards and the softs. Let's have a look at meanwhile what happened here to De Bruyne with Laboutelet.
Here we go, what happens?
In the background,
Clips
there
his
was
back.
a bit of contact between himself and Miyazono. How'd you read that one?
So that is a very typical incident at Daytona Road Course, and it's the fact that as you come off of turn 1 there, you kind of, the track goes back to the left a little bit, so that outside car is put in an awkward position where they have to get left. The inside car doesn't want to give them that space like Miyazono did, and you have that altercation and they come together like you saw. That's very typical at this racetrack. We see it in almost any race you have here. This is really tight. 2x2x2 down at turn 1 amongst all these drivers.
Yeah, this is phenomenal. Looking at Stroza with the inside line. I thought he was going to have a Dandem lunge to the inside. Sasaki and De Bruyne are also going wing mirror to wing mirror as they make their way through the first corner. I tell you what, though, for the likes of Stroza, Gallo and Barbara, this is actually working out quite nicely for them because they're now on the back of some medium shot runners, and it will just give them the impetus there to try and hold on to the back of them, even though they're on a slower compound of tyre. You can see Stroza alongside Sasaki, but Sasaki with the mediums, it's just great attraction out the corner, nothing that Stroza can do. And
what is Serrano doing that makes him so fast?
They don't get involved in squabbles amongst one another and let those two drivers get away too much, because it could come back to bite them later on in the race.
And one of the things they're doing there, they love to see them close enough to the infield because that allows them to utilize the draft again through the banked portions and essentially stay closer than they naturally would on just pure lap time with those slower tires.
On board here then with
this is in Los Angeles.
Through the bus stop then. You see how much curve and grass they look at
that camera shot.
Millimeters away from disaster. And the thing is with these cars, you drove it yesterday, Parker, they are tricky on the limit because all the torque's at the top end of the rev range.
Super tricky there when you get the throttle down. As Dumont goes to the outside here, Jose Serrano, he's going to utilize this pass we've seen twice from these two. And sometimes this actually can look like battling, but it's almost working together at this racetrack because the draft is so powerful. When you're in Jose Serrano's position there, you let Dumont do that, then you'll get the toe the next time around through the banking and vice versa. You'll swap positions lap after lap like we're seeing from those two.
Stroza and Barbara battling. It might be for the last positions in this race at the moment, but it might come back into their favour later on. You can see them very close to one another. Valerio Gallo, again, not made too much of an impression on this race, but he's playing the long game here. This is what all of these drivers, Gallo, Stroza and Barbara, are doing. They started on the hard compound tyre. They've gone ugly early, haven't they, really, here? Trying to make sure that they've got that tyre out of the way as soon as they possibly can. So they'll be on a quicker set of compound
so they have to use, you have to change to different tyre types. So these guys that are all on mediums will eventually have to switch to hard.
It's something you use in nightclubs in the UK.
So Gallo, Stroza and Barbara are getting the harder tyre out of the way early.
On the brakes they go in towards the chicane then. Look at Miyazono, he's all over the back there of Jose Serrano. And again, they're overtaking one another, they're changing positions, but it's nothing to get too excited about at this particularly early stage of the race, because you know that they're just giving each other racing room. They're not fighting these positions too hard, the ones that are being attacked, and they're just, again, waiting for the right moment to go, because it's when the pit stops come out, that's what nobody knows is going to happen, because even though you're on the medium tyre, doesn't mean they're all going to go for the soft tyres in the mid-stint. They might go for the hard tyres, or they might decide to play a different strategy. We have seen drivers doing 2 stops. We've seen some doing 3-stop strategies as well, which is a bit of a road call, I have to say, but sometimes it does pay off.
And what they're close to doing, these front four, is actually getting away from Paul Ura, who's in fifth by enough of a gap that he wouldn't have the draft anymore. He's just over 2 seconds from the leader, but about a second behind 4th place here. So if they continue to work together, utilizing the draft, they could separate themselves from Paul Ura and sort of have their own pack.
Absolutely. Well, Valerio Gallo will be hoping to make some progress from 10th at the moment. He'll be finishes there. He's more disappointed than Arusa, that's just had his tonsils out, to be completely honest with you. But there's still plenty of time for this race to unfold. We're not even 1/3 of a distance through it as we ride on board here with Thomas Laboutelet. You can see there Takuma Miyazono, as part of his routine, always listens to a particular song the night before every race, and it's always interesting that.
Have you listened to that one?
I'm not familiar with it, I must be honest with you, but I'll give it a go, to be honest, because Takuma Miyazono he's a quick driver, and I could probably learn a thing or two to pick up my
use that too. I would like something like that. Do you have any help there is?
Do you have any superstitions when you go racing, like putting one boot on?
How much all the races are for, like,
you know, I know what you're saying. I try to put the left on first.
Do you do?
Yeah.
I always find it.
And left glove first.
I'm exactly the same actually when I go racing. But to be honest, I'm so slow it doesn't really make much of a difference. Anyway, side by side with Serrano versus Dumont as they change positions once more down the start-finish straight and into turn 1. Miyazono, Laboutelet very close to one another.
This is going to get really interesting when the pits come through.
Again, he's just looking a bit threatening, and Miyazono picks up a penalty then.
Wow.
A 1-second penalty for that collision that we saw earlier on with Kai De Bruyne.
And I mean, I think that's the correct call in a lot of respects. You know, he was there. He didn't give him the room on the exit. He drove into the left rear of De Bruyne and spun him out, and so you get a penalty for that.
Oh, so they, after the review, they called Miyazono the wrongful in that and gave him a second penalty.
Events can be, you know, last time out in Berlin, he was on for his first podium.
He said it was his fault.
Absolutely delighted with that after having fought for it for such a long time. And it's sort of hero to zero stuff here, this one as well. Now, for
yeah, you know that guy, Jack? I used to watch that guy. We're going to lose.
Might drop him even behind Pole Europe because they're not too far adrift. And that penalty zone is at the quickest point on this circuit. So we're coming through in towards it now. You'll see with the two yellow markers either side of the track. And you lose, of course, that 1 second in terms of the penalty time, but you also lose that time getting back up to speed there as well. So Laboutelet is going to fire past like Miyazono's just stuck the handbrake on.
Wow.
And there he goes.
This is going to be a huge penalty.
Yeah, so he drops down then behind Thomas Laboutelet. And
wait, what just happened? Oh, he had to knock that second off.
Laboutelet's profited from it. He's up into third place. Our first pit stop.
So he chose to do it right there.
Strozer from 12th and last in this one has pitted from the hard tyres. Now, where does he go in this? Does he go for the mediums? Does he go for the soft?
That's a penalty zone. Gotcha.
Take some fuel on board as well. We're quite early into the race, so not really too much point. But this is the moment that cost Miyazono.
Yeah, that's.
Well, and there's the penalty.
That's definitely Miyazono's fault.
And you can see there where Miyazono just went to the right at the same point that De Bruyne was going left. It's just a classic collision here, but he was definitely in the wrong, not giving him the racing room he needed.
No doubt about it. Into Strozer then, onto the medium with compound of tyres for his first of 2 pit stops at a minimum in
You have no choice when to take it. It's always at the penalty line. Gotcha.
On the same tyres as the majority of the field in this one, but of course they'll be significantly fresher than everybody else at this stage in the race as well. You can see that there. 40% of the rear tyres are left pretty much for all of the drivers inside the top 10 that are on the hard compound of tyres, whereas in Strozer, a brand new set of fresh mediums, they're going to feel so lovely compared to the hards he was on.
And you know, in super speedway racing and NASCAR, when you race at Daytona, you want to pit in a pack because you want to utilize the draft. You don't want to be out there by yourself. I think this is very similar, that we'll see many of these drivers try to pit together because they're going faster utilizing that draft than they would be just by themselves. Even if you've got those better tires, you want to have to utilize the draft to turn really fast lap times.
And you can see these drivers at the sharp end of this one here, Parker. Obviously, they're all working together at this point. They're in a race with their shoelaces tied to one another here at this point. But eventually, they're going to have to undo those shoelaces and start fighting. It's loads of time still left to go in this one.
This is one of those races where you see
third of the way done.
changes, and it's like, wow, that sounds awesome. But
when
it's
does
not the
the
full
first
story.
pit
They're
go?
working together, utilizing those lead changes to have the fastest lap times and not slow each other down.
You can see exactly what it would mean for Jose Serrano if the checkered flag fell now, though. It would be another 6 points in his arsenal, and it would give him quite a commanding advantage as we go into the World Finals. And, you know, fair play, because he really would deserve it. But there's so much time left to go. And I suppose if you're the likes of Kylian Drumont and Thomas Laboutelet here, how do you play this in terms
What's up,
of
big head? What's up, Rebel? How you doing, brother?
for this race? Because do you follow what Serrano's doing?
You think all the softs or mediums will go straight into softs?
Utilizing the draft, being able to follow him, knowing he's the fastest driver here, most likely the winningest driver of the season. You think, if I follow him, and with the draft, you don't know what can happen, what you could pull off in that final stint. So stay as close to him as you can. There's no reason to try something different when you're this close and have the draft in your favor.
Just to give you an idea of the difference in pace between Angel Strozer and the sharp end of the field. Last time around he was a 1:28.8. which of course wasn't a full flying lap because he was out of the pits. That was an out lap for him over the course of that one. But just to give you an idea of the first sector, he was about a second or so clear of anybody else last time around. So really impressive stuff there for Jose Serrano, and we'll see what it means for him later on. Barbara and Gallo, they managed to extend those hard tyres a little bit later on. They've pitted a couple of laps after Angel Strozer here, which means their tyres, whichever they go on to, will be a couple of laps newer. So it'd be interesting to see how that works out for them, because we did see that in the Manufacturers' Cup earlier on this evening. I won't spoil the result for you if you haven't caught it. I do implore you to go to do it because the racing was spectacular. But we saw some
starting with medium is smarter, so you can gauge how fast or slow the others will wear when making tire order
but
plans.
if you can turn the fast lap times after this, especially on those tires, that's going to help.
Yeah, because you want to get the most out of your mediums, right?
Continuing to work together and utilizing this draft, and so that's just going to make it tougher, even if you're by yourself on better tires, to make up that time. Maybe as I look at some of the lap times, you can get close to their lap times, but to be faster than what you want when you're on those tires, to make up that time and make up some track position is going to be a really tall task.
Yeah, no doubt about it. On board then we ride here with Thomas Labouchelet with that relatively clear view down towards the first corner. Drumont and Serrano, and again just keeping him honest at this race. Sasaki's picked up a penalty here. You can see that with the flashing red dot next to his name. Not quite sure what that is all about, but something to keep an eye on there for him, presumably because we didn't see anything come up. It'll be down to track limits, but he's coming into the pit lane at the end of this one. So he's the first of the medium job runners, the drivers who started this race on the medium tyres, I should say, that has pitted then. So let's see how he plays this in terms of that strategy. But you can now see it's gone from what was a three-way fight up to a now five-way fight, because Miyazono and Yura are right in the picture here.
Yeah, that penalty for Miyazono really pulled Yura back up into this front four cars, and now it's sort of a five-car train that leads this race right now, because he was about 2 seconds back from the leader.
Sasaki switched to hards.
When Miyazono got his penalty, he was able to utilize the draft with Miyazono to get back to this front pack, and now it's expanded to 5 cars in this lead pack.
Yeah, let's see how these drivers are going to play this one. And as you said, you would imagine it'd be a case of follow the leader, whoever, you know, blinks first from
I would think, but yeah, I haven't been right very often.
Well, you know, I'm almost never right, to be completely honest with you. Down towards the braking zone we go of that chicane.
Wearing the same fit as that emo.
Through there. So Sasaki went from the mediums to the hards then. So if you're the drivers that are up ahead of that, are you going to go and do the same? I suppose that's the risk though, isn't it? You go to the hard tyres and sort of deal with that pain in the middle stages of the race, which then would leave you the soft tyres at the end of it. But if you did the reverse of that, of course, that would leave you vulnerable at the end. So it's so difficult to work out how this is all going to work out. Obviously, you've got fuel to consider in this one. Whoever is, you know, might be saving fuel. If you're the likes of Thomas Labouchelet, you're just sitting there in the slipstream. Maybe you can do a bit of lifting, coasting, save a bit more fuel. Save maybe a couple of seconds on the pit stop, which could give you track position after it's all worked out.
I have to think Labouchelet is doing that because I've watched him continually have the chance to go by Jose Serrano here, poke to the outside, and he chooses to stay right behind Jose Carrazza on pit road right now.
Serrano, Drumont.
You know, for him, Labouchelet there riding, that's definitely his thought process. As I'm in the lead pack, my advantage here would be how can I make that pit stop the shortest amount or not have to take much fuel at all by staying here in the draft and saving fuel.
Yeah, more medium shop runners, Carrazza and Cardinal going on to the hard compound then in the middle stint of this race. And you can see the drivers at the sharp end of this one, their rear tyres are now looking pretty second-hand. So you would imagine it's going to be this time around that they're going to be coming into the box. Let's see who decides to dart in. We're coming towards the chicane for the 13th time of asking. Threading it through there.
You can see the throttle trace right there as he got towards the bus stop, just feathering it a little bit before they got to the braking zone, just standing there right behind Drumont.
Yeah, no doubt about it. They're surely going to have to come into the box then at the end of this lap. I think they're just going to be pretty much bound by circumstance then, really. And Drumont, as he is side by side here with Jose, there's a race into the pit lane here. He's trying to get track position to give him more position on the exit of the corner. Now, are they all going to follow the same strategy in terms of the tyres?
Hards or softs for the first top 6 guys.
De Bruyne,
Let's see.
Into the box.
It tells you how much fuel they have too.
As well as Pole Eura. And if they all go to the hard compound of tyre, it'll be all's fair in love and war. It'll be pretty even Stevens. But if someone goes to the soft tyre, plays a bit of a gamble, or maybe takes on some fuel at this stage, and I don't think they're going to do it. I think they're just going to follow everybody else's strategy because, you know, though it might give them an advantage, they'll have to take that pain a little bit later. And indeed, you can see Jose Serrano exiting this one in the lead, but with Labouchelet and Drumont right on his gearbox then as they all filter out onto the race circuit and make their way through the hairpin for the 14th time after their first pit stop has now taken place.
And that was such a sneaky move by Serrano into pit road, utilizing the draft, got to the outside to be
can't imagine how different they would feel.
That gives them a little bit of advantage as they hit pit road to the line. He gets the lead out of the pits now back where he wants to be, and on these hard tires, we'll see this could potentially be a place where within his pace, could he stretch that gap to the infield to maybe try and get away and break this draft slightly?
Yeah, it's so difficult to break a slipstream on this circuit though. That is the problem, isn't it? Because it's just
is it ghosted?
Circuit,
no, I think it's probably just ghosted when you come out of the pit for a small amount of time.
So plenty of time.
Probably how it goes.
And Well, Jose Serrano there, just 0.3 of a second. The advantage he now has over Thomas Laboutelet, who's ascended himself up into second position after starting this one.
Shouldn't be, that's part of the race.
Samuel Cardinal's also made some good progress in this one. He's into P7 as well, in front of Guy Barbara and Valerio Gallo. In Estrosa's where he started, if you remember, he was the first driver to pit in this race. He went from the hard tyres onto the mediums, which is a good strategy in terms of giving him a bit of clean air, a bit of track position, but it might come to pay him in the backside a bit later on, as we see Guy Barbara with Valerio Gallo side by side into the braking zone. Barbara with the advantage then, and with track position now, and into 7th place. Gallo and Cardinal slot in behind.
That was a really brave move there by Gallo to the outside. You knew the clear Cardinal on the inside, but stayed there with Guy Barbara on the inside, down into turn 1. Couldn't quite make it work because you just don't have the grip on the outside. But with these medium tires, he's showing some great pace as they've tried to move forward from the back of the pack early this race.
Yeah, through into
halfway
right-hander as we ride on board here with Valerio Gallo. You can see the steely face of concentration for the 2021 Nations Cup.
I struggle on like 12 laps. Can only imagine 30.
Forthcoming over the course of this evening here in Los Angeles, but he does still sit second in the championship as it stands for now. Just 3 points adrift of Jose Serrano. As you look at fact there for Guy Barbara at the bottom left-hand side of your screen, he's currently in P7, the leading medium-shod runner in this race. Just to remind you, Barbara, Gallo and Inestrosa all, of course, started this one on the hard tyres. They're now on the medium tyres in the middle stint.
And Guy Barbara started driving Gran Turismo at 7 years old. I think I was the same age.
Oh, yeah.
It was just not this it would have been Gran Turismo 3.
Yeah, it's so interesting how everyone's got a story when it comes down to Gran Turismo. You know, talking to some of the audience here in LA.
The 40-lap race when I was a kid seemed forever. It seemed like forever. The most gaming I did back then.
Through turn 1, that's left Drummond with the inside line and a possibility to try and attack as they go side by side into the hairpin. Serrano gets it back and into second position. Ura's there in the background, ready to try and take profit as well as Takuma Miyazono, but now it is Laboutelet that leads for the first time of asking in this race.
And you can tell as we get past halfway here, things getting slightly more aggressive at this time. Right there, that move down into turn 1 with Serrano getting the back of Laboutelet. Drummond trying to get to the inside. He tried a defensive move to hold him off as these 5 cars have condensed back together here. I think for Serrano, he thought maybe if he could get to the lead, harder tires, maybe they'd race out the pits a little bit, could get a bit of a gap, but absolutely not the case. He's now firmly in this pack.
I have to say, it's a bit of a shame that these leading runners did not go for an alternate strategy. I'd love to have seen somebody just bolt a set of soft tyres on in the middle stint for it, and just see if it works out. I suppose there's a lot to lose in those circumstances. You know, position at Drummond over the curb, lost time, and that sends Ura into the back of him there as well. He subsequently loses a place to Takuma Miyazono.
That kind of screwed Ura over a little bit.
Very close to losing. This car is so finicky. It's such on a knife edge at times. It's very reactive, but if you get those big slides, they're hard to hold on to. Drummond did a great job through there, through the Le Mans chicane, holding on to that car, but loses a ton of time.
Yeah, really well done there for Kylian Drummond, but as you say, a shame there for him as a result of that. He's now down into 5th position. He's got a fair bit of work to do to catch up onto the back of Miyazono and of Pol Ura. And look at that, he's just put a bit of daylight between Serrano and Laboutelet. Only about 7 or 8 tenths of a second or so, but just enough for them to not have to worry in their mirrors immediately behind. I don't think that means the top 2 are going to start attacking one another, but I wonder if they might be able to use that, get a bit of impetus, start working together now to build out a cushion over the likes of Miyazono, Ura and Drummond.
Yeah, they enjoyed seeing that from Drummond there with that check up into Pol Ura, and it slowed up enough that Miyazono was able to go by there and give them just this little bit of gap. So they're starting to think at these points, maybe we can get a gap, but you just know if you don't make it happen to the infield,
was like
that
first,
draft
second,
will
right,
condense you
now
all
he's
back
fifth?
together. As Jose Serrano there.
Wasn't he the one that was fighting Serrano early?
They're not quite drafting the way we saw earlier between him and Drummond.
Yeah, he's starting to pull the pin now a bit, isn't he, here? Jose Serrano, and I wonder if that could prove to be a good move, because if he's able to get a bit of an advantage and a bit of track position, that would be a very welcome result. And I'd say his track position in terms of just, again, not having to worry about the immediacy of what's going on behind you in your mirrors. But I suppose the converse to that is if you start beginning to push, it means you're going to start needing to save fuel, and of course he's going to be expending more fuel because he hasn't got the slipstream like all of the other drivers stuck in that train behind. Karatz just picked up a penalty, by the way. I think he's just served that one, and presumably that must have been for track limits because we didn't see anything come up on the screen. Been quite an anonymous race so far for Adriano Karatza. De Bruin and Sasaki under investigation for a collision there as well. So we'll pick the bones out of what happened there. But the upshot is De Bruin is now down and into 10th position. Sasaki is plumb last by 4 seconds. So clearly something has happened there to the Japanese driver. It's not worked out at all for him.
And you think for Serrano and Laboulle, they thought maybe they could get away. I'm starting to see that opportunity decrease right here as Miyazono gets back. Paul Ura getting up there as well. And so I just think they were in that zone of maybe potentially doing such a thing, but it's starting to look like it's going to condense back together like we've seen majority of these races amongst these 5 cars being in a very tight pack.
So put me in the cockpit of these cars at the moment here then, Parker, because obviously we're at a bit of a quieter phase of the race. You know, in terms of the on-track action, they're not exactly dive-bombing each other at every corner. If you're Thomas Laboulle, Takuma Miyazono, etc., you're sitting behind the drivers in the lead of this race.
Rex,
what's going through your mind? How are you planning your sort of final third?
It definitely
I think at this time you're obviously assessing your competitors. Where do you think they're better than you? Where do you think
up here, bro.
that you could work and improve but a little bit, and also knowing when are they going to make that first move to get on those soft tires? When does that happen? Do you follow them? Do you try to do something different? Most likely you want to just follow the leader to get on those softs immediately, not let them get away. And so this portion of the race is just a bit of assessing at this time as you watch Laboulle go to the lead over Jose Serrano. That same pass we've seen multiple times, and you're just trying to set yourself in position where you feel like you can react to that pit stop, put those softs on, and be in a position to hopefully strike in that final stint.
I suppose that's the thing, isn't it? Obviously, at other circuits where the slipstream maybe isn't so prominent, De Bruin picks up a 1 second penalty for the incident with Takuma Sasaki, by the way, so he was clearly deemed as the aggressor. We didn't see exactly what happened, but yeah, just going back to that thought. So I suppose if you're the likes of, Kylian Drumont, for example, you're at the back of this train at the moment. I mean, if you try and do the undercut and stick a set of soft tyres on before everybody else, sure, it might give you a bit of track position. Maybe you come out in clean air during your pit stop, and it gives you that track position to be able to take advantage when everybody else makes their pit stop. But the problem is, it'll leave you so vulnerable at the end of the race because the slipstream is so powerful at this circuit. It's just not worth that gamble.
Yeah, the only way to avoid the slipstream or to try to combat it is just to be really good to the infield, right? And that's just typical of Daytona Road Course. No matter what you're racing, that's always the case. You try to do all the hard work to the infield to get away, to not allow the driver behind to have the easy work of utilizing the draft through the banking sections. But it's just such a tall task, and if you go earlier onto those softs and put yourself at a grip deficit, you're most likely not going to be able to hold them off down through the oval portions.
Side by side here with Serrano versus Laboulle.
Serrano has been very consistent. Laboulle has been really good too. He didn't do it. I don't think Laboulle did good in the last race either.
Who's making a great ascension through the field. He's closed the deficit down to these hard shot runners, and he's really making hay whilst the sun shines. It's exactly what he needs to do because those medium tyres are going to start to come towards the end of their
Thanks for the resubs, by the way, guys. Appreciate you, guys. How's it going?
Than these hard tyres, and he's got, of course, a pace advantage of about 0.6, 0.7 of a second or so, and he's really taking profit of it here. Is Valerio Gallo. He's made his way up through the field, up into 5th position. And he needs to do that, really, because if he wants track position, this is exactly how to do it while the field is all closed up.
This has been an awesome drive by him from the back of the pack, using an alternate strategy, getting on those mediums when these drivers are on the hards, and joining this front pack that now puts him in great position if he can hang on here to when you go and put those softs on. He's now in the fight for the lead. We talked about before the race, maybe he had to think about just how do I get in position to get some points. He's already done that if he can hold on to this position. Now it's about being a part of the conversation for the win because you're just a couple cars behind.
So he's on mediums while everyone else, well, almost everyone else on hards.
Second place to third to fourth and vice versa.
Yeah, and also as well, they've done the hard tyres.
It's actually worked out pretty decent for Gallo because he was in the bottom 3 when he was on hards, right?
Gotten that phase of the race out of the way.
Worked his way all the way up to 5th, and he's closing in
for the race win essentially because he'll be on the same compound of tyres at the end of this one. The disadvantage may be if he's expended more fuel. Look at it, now kicking off. Miyazono lunging to the inside.
Serrano's got problems now.
Through the exit of turn 1.
Ura just did a really crazy jolty move to the outside and got in Serrano's way, which now dropped down to 6th.
He might come off second best. but manages to get himself now.
Yo, Serrano just got
for the
screwed.
exit of the corner. Serrano bails out of that battle as we come and flick it through the left-hander. Gallo's going to have the inside line in the grip under braking, gets himself through and into 4th place. That was an amazing bit of driving.
Check him wheel, dude.
In the first sector, because it looked like
Let's
it could have
see
got
this.
pretty ugly, that one.
And it put them all 3 wide in 2 consecutive corners, and Serrano was the big loser of all this, being on the outside.
Yeah, Serrano
there,
got caught big time there.
There's just no grip, especially if you're forced to the 3rd groove right there. He couldn't get accelerating, falls all the way back to 6.
And he's got 2 guys with mediums behind him.
Most of this race, he has serious work ahead of him.
Yeah, amazing job from all of those drivers, and for Valerio Gallo, yeah, he says he plays
only 9 laps left too. It's over halfway done.
Valerio for quite a long time now, and he is one of the most calm, cool, and collected characters in the Gran Turismo World Series, and also one of the most competitive. He knows how to pilot one of these machines, and he just does it for the absolute sheer joy of racing. Look at Jura all over the back here of Miyazono, but
oh my God!
Like a storm, pulls to the
Gallo's
outside,
cooking.
To the outside. That's going to leave him a bit vulnerable, but he's got so much grip under braking. He's able to pull alongside Jura, and I think he's just got to bow
was
out
close.
on the exit of turn 1, which he
Jura did a good job holding that,
doesn't
though.
show you the difference in performance between worn medium and worn hard tyres. I don't know
Over-under?
what
He's
will.
trying.
Like I
Not
said,
gonna
the only
happen.
question mark for Valerio Gallo is, has he expended more fuel relative to those drivers in front of him, because it might cost him a bit later.
Gallo was
when they
cooking
start
on that
making
straight.
their final pit stops and have to take fuel on board. Let's have a look here at Miyazono then, Serrano and Labutale. This is going down towards turn 1. And Miyazono with his lunge to the inside of Jose Serrano. Of this most recent
Yo,
lap.
that move that
Miyazono
Miyazono did screwed over Serrano because he caught the rest of the traffic, and then Ura got in his way. And now Ura's in 2nd.
And jockeying for position, utilizing the draft and firing it down the inside of certain corners.
Gallo needs to take advantage of these mediums.
As this is an awkward run right here. You got to bow out of it right here. You can't go side by side through the bus stop. It's just not possible in the X 2019. You'll be way slower than you want to be on the exit.
Blink and you'll miss it sort of stuff. The medium shot runners have pulled a bit of a blinder in this race, actually, to be honest, because they started on the hard tyre, they got that phase out of the way, and now they're really taking profit because the field hasn't spread out like you might see in a more traditional style circuit, because of course
everyone will be on softs
just
for
so
the last
powerful,
section.
the drivers just sitting in all of those trains. They've really been able to take profit in this mid-stage. It's brought a lot of them right into contention.
As we're on board here, Valerio Gallo, who looks to the outside
Oh.
right now. His right rear
Oh.
tire is really wards us.
Oh.
How long can he hold on? Oh, it's
Can't,
so tight through
maybe,
there. So tough to be
does?
side by side. Both
He forces
competitors have to
himself
work
inside
together
there, or
to
no?
get
He
down
got
in
bumped from the back.
International Horseshoe, a bit of contact.
That was Gallo getting 2 for the price of 1 going
Yo,
down into
Gallo
the
got
from 5th
pushed
place
up
into
a little
3rd place
bit.
at the expense of Miyazono. Guy Barbara's there ready as well. This is going to start getting pretty scrappy.
Oh,
Before too long, and
shit.
someone I'm sure is going to come off second
Yo,
place.
that little
Flicking
pack is
through
getting
into
wild.
the right-hander. Serrano's on the inside of Guy Barbara for 5th position. Gallo's there in 4th place. He looks
Gallo
pretty
comes
safe
up
there for
one
now,
placement,
but as we
though,
go
on that.
towards the left-hander and come onto the banking, now we're going to start seeing the slipstream, and now we're going to see Guy Barbara getting right into contention for this one. Inestrosa, Cardinal and De Bruin, by the way, have all gone on to the soft tyres for their final stint in this race. That have taken fuel on board for that pit stop there as well. Through the bank left-hander we
Serrano's
go
stuck.
as we head down in towards the Le Mans chicane.
It's
2
going to
by
have to...
2 at the sharp end of this one for the lead.
We'll see if he can bring
Labutale
something back,
versus
though.
Paul Jura into the braking zone we go. Labutale, the victor on that occasion. He holds on to the sharp end of this race.
And what was a 5-car pack has extended into a 7-car pack here as we get towards this final pit stop for the soft tires.
All right,
happening
here comes the
any
pit.
moment here.
Yeah, it's going to be any time now. These drivers are going to start coming in.
Here
As
they
do. There we go. So into the box for Jura, Labutale, Miyazono. And look, they're all following suit. They've got no choice. They're now bound by circumstances here. And the crucial thing is
Everyone's
going
gonna
to
be on softs.
to the soft
Softs
tyre
across
for
the
end of this
board.
race. But look at the fuel difference there. Serrano, he's managed to save fuel. He's got, what, 5 litres more than some of the other competitors. Gallo, for example, 22 litres.
So, I mean, Serrano's going to be on
3
softs
litres
now,
per
and he's going to be
second.
gunning it
More
probably the whole
refueling
time.
So
He's
that's
probably
gonna
got all
cost
his
him
shit out of the
time
way.
and possibly
All
crap
his
position
lifting.
there here for Valerio Gallo. So that's what I was saying about that being the question mark over the latter stage of this race. So though he's gained track position here, it's going to leave him with a bit
Miyazono's
more
cracked
work
on
to do
soft.
in the closing stage of this one. Now Jura
Let's
has
see what's
taken
happening
advantage
here.
of having saved a bit
Jura
more fuel,
goes into
and he goes through
first.
into the race lead against Thomas Labutale. Miyazono's in 3rd. Gallo is into 4th position, ahead now of Jose Serrano, Kilian Drumont and Guy Barbara.
Serrano
So
got to
7
5th from
cars
6th.
in the battle for the lead with just under 6 laps now to go.
And Serrano was the big loser in that whole sequence there through the end of that last stint. He just lost that track position through the altercation down to turn 1, and now fighting for 5th here on the inside, back onto the banking through turn 6. He holds onto that over Guy Barbara, but he's got some serious work to do to get back to the pointy end of this
Yeah,
field.
he's not even at the front of the pack. He's probably barely getting any draft at all off of that car in front of him. That's the worst position. That shit sucks. When the front pack loses you just enough that you're not really getting draft and they start pulling away.
0.7 of a second, but it takes that one moment, that one mistake, and it goes from that 4 right back up to that 7-car battle, especially if these top 4 start squabbling amongst one another.
He's close enough? Okay.
Bells out of each other, then you've got
well, you've seen that a bunch this race.
Exactly, that's what I mean. You've got a real battle on your hands, and I have to say, Valerio Gallo, I thought he was going to lose a bit of track position.
As these guys fight, Serrano will be able to catch up, though. The more fighting they do at the front of the pack, the better it'll be for Serrano.
He's calculated this one a bit more accurately than some of his other competitors, and that's why he's into 4th place and didn't drop down right to the end of that train of drivers.
And he's got the benefit of riding here behind these couple of drivers, utilizing that draft. Maybe he can make up for a little bit of that difference here and then have enough to be able to strike later in those last few laps because he knows he's timed out the fuel perfectly.
He's right on him now, too.
But at the moment, Jose Serrano's lead would be whittled down to just 2 points going into the World Finals in Fukuoka in December. You can see just how close it is here in terms of the battles. And then that's the thing, though, for Jose Serrano, he's in P5. He's won both World Series events so far. But you can see just what a difference it would make if he only gets 2 points on the board here tonight.
25 laps in this race, 8 cars in the lead back right now. This is anyone's race, especially if they get to start dicing it up and side by side anytime. All these drivers.
Yeah, they're going to start getting spicy for sure.
That battle is starting to just get reduced down ever so slightly because Jose Serrano is not too far adrift. He's only about 9/10 of a second away, which might sound like a fair bit of time, but it's definitely within the slipstreaming range, and he's got enough time to continue closing that deficit down.
Here we go, a little bit of a battle here.
0.2 of a second, so yeah.
Oh, this is definitely going to be a battle. Oh no, 3 wide. Little bump. Serrano might have an inside here on Mirazono.
Outside then here, side by side with Serrano versus Miyazono in the background for position as well. Oh, Miyazono with a big lunge.
Serrano big time on the outside. He's getting it held up though there.
Serrano's going to get shoveled to the curb on the outside. That's going to cost him drive.
Damn, yo, it looked like he was making moves, dude. But they didn't pan out. Miyazono pushed up to 2nd. Holy shit. I thought he was going to lose the fight against Serrano. And he came out on top in 2nd.
They're throwing the kitchen sink in it already.
Say elbows out here right now as we go through the infield and a little bit into Barbara there from Drummond. Just a hip check as they got onto the banking right now. 3 wide here for the 4th position, and Serrano watches all this, just trying to navigate through it. He continues to lose position.
Mia might have a second penalty. That was reckless. I haven't heard anybody say anything. Doesn't say he's under review.
Barbara's about 0.8 of a second off the back.
But dude, Ura's up there.
7 drivers that are all fighting for the race lead. I say 7 drivers because Kylian Drummond has dropped back a little bit off of the top 3. It's about 1.3 seconds or so. So the sharp end of this one, Ura, he's trying to check out of this one here.
He loved what he saw behind him with all that jockeying position in 2 wide. It allowed him to gap out by 1.2 seconds. That's still within draft range, but Lubudele and Miyazono have to get to work here, drafting with each other to get back to Ura.
Yeah, 3 to go then here as we come in towards the left-hander of turn 1. They've got to be sensible and smart about this one if they want to challenge for victory, and it would be a huge dent in the title challenge for Jose Serrano. I remind you, he had won both World Series events in London and Berlin.
I'm surprised Labutli tries to go around him there rather than like push him.
Into the World Finals. So
bump him.
It's going to be a very tense time for Jose Serrano, I would imagine, in the cockpit of that car if he finishes in P5. But again, there's still a bit of time for him to try and turn around those fortunes. And
Paul Ura's just gotten 2 more tenths on that lead right now, up to 1.4 seconds. That's the biggest lead we've seen in this race yet, with just a couple laps to go. 1.5 now as they get onto the banking. He's doing exactly what we talked about, what we thought Jose Serrano was trying to do earlier, had the chance to do, and that is jet away from the field, get away from that draft, and see if you can get it to where they can't even get to you.
Up to nearly 320 kilometers an hour, over 320 kilometers an hour as we come in towards around that chicane then. Labutale and Miyazono need to do everything they can to close the deficit down, because Miyazono and Miyazono rather, beg your pardon, and Labutale,
I don't think they're catching Ura.
See their chances of victory
I don't think they're catching
through their fingers, because Ura is driving like he's left the gas on at the moment.
And look at him weaving. He's trying to avoid the draft. You're trying to break the draft by weaving a little bit through those sections there on the straightaway.
Yeah,
It looks odd, but that's exactly what he's attempting to do.
Yeah, coming down in towards turn one then. So through to that left-hander we
gained
go.
a 10th on him.
It's ebbed and flowed
Almost
so
2
much
tenths.
this race, hasn't it? Valerio Gallo was a little bit loose there in the first corner. That might leave him vulnerable to attack from Angelina Stroza. So Gallo's challenge for victory looks to have faltered somewhat in the closing stages, as it now has ebbed and flowed just a little bit more. And from what was a 7, nearly 8 car scrap a couple of laps ago, it's now reduced down to, well, one driver who's got a lead of about a second or so. Then you've got Miyazono and Labutale involved in their own scrap with one another, and you wonder again whether fuel might be coming into it. I mentioned about Valerio Gallo maybe under fueling a bit. Look at that, he's got 9 litres relative to some other drivers in front of him who've got 13, 14 litres, so they might be able to push that bit harder in the closing
I didn't see no
stages of this
13,
race.
14
He didn't want
liters.
all that tossing about that we had there, where they're running into each other and messing around. It really broke up the draft for him and put him in a position where he had to be not able to utilize the draft to stay up there track position wise, and so it's falling back to 6. It just hadn't quite worked out.
Yeah, Paul
Mr.
Ura's got an
President, by the way, thank you for the
in
gifted
this
sub
race,
earlier,
though.
man.
Can
I'm
he
sorry,
hold it, though,
brother.
the
Good
end
to
is
see
a
you, my
crucial
man.
question.
Good
Look
to
at
see
the
you.
run Labutale got on the exit there.
Serrano has
onto
like the most
Lamont
gas,
Stage,
but
over the
he's
high
not
line
in a
on
great
the
position
outside.
right
It's a
now.
longer route around that
I
corner,
don't think
but he gets it
Serrano
back into the
brings us
slipstream
back
quite
in any
nicely
way,
there.
but we'll
Miyazono,
see.
as you said, trying to break
Maybe
that toe,
against
I'm sure,
Drummond.
before too long. Labutale goes for the outside
He is
line
close
as
to the
they go
distance
2
on
by
Drummond
2.
on this,
Across
obviously.
it, 2 to go at the end of this one here. Labutale with the outside line for second. Miyazono on the inside, down in towards turn one. Miyazono will have track position, but will he be able to hold it? Labutale is going to get hung out to dry.
Dude, Ura is maintaining a distance, man.
Corner of battling, and look who's there in the background. Jose Serrano and Killian Drummond. They
Serrano
are
moved up to
away,
4th and passed
ready to
Drummond.
start nipping at his heels for
Can
those podium
he
places.
move up
Saying,
on
"We're back, we're here, we
Labutale?
can see you. If you get side
No
by side
way.
again, we're ready to strike." And I thought Labutale was trying to use the draft there to help Miyazono get back towards Paul Ura, but he just didn't have the chance. He didn't work out. The timing was awkward there down the straightaway.
There's a couple times
and
I
they
feel like
actually lost a bit of
Labutale
time.
could have
Yeah, so
fucking done
through
some bump
on
draft,
towards
but
the
decided
bank.
not
Once
to.
more, here is Jose
And no
Serrano,
one is
who's
closing the gap now on
dominated
Ura.
the GT World Series and the Nations Cup. You can see his compatriot at the sharp end of this race.
Labutale might be getting caught by Serrano here.
Down
A little bit.
And you wonder whether the chance of victory has slipped through Jose Serrano's fingers here this evening in Los Angeles.
Oh,
because
definitely
he's
has.
seen
He's not
P4.
catching
Anything
Ura.
can happen, but it's a tall order to be able to close that deficit down on a circuit as tricky and as reliant on the slipstream as this one, especially with the other drivers in front also having the advantage of that slipstream. So we come round the final corner, we come across the timing line, ready to start the final lap of racing in the Nations Cup. It's Ura, Miyazono, Labutale, Serrano, Drummond.
Labutale is going to have a problem right now with Serrano.
For victory here at Daytona. Who will be claiming the checkered flag?
And they just cut a half second out of that lead for Ura right now. They're going to be right on his tails. They get back to the...
He has to defend.
If they
That's
can
not
stay
good
right
for him.
here-
Oh!
my goodness!
No!
Labutale is hit into the side there as well by Killian Drummond on the exit of the corner, so the Frenchman's race has really come undone, and you would imagine there's going to be a penalty coming the way of Thomas Labutale. It's opened the door though for Drummond. His compatriot walks straight through.
Serrano's not catching Ura, but that was a really good moment for him.
And it's somewhat spread the field out in this battle for the victory then here. Ura's gap is now up to over a second with his compatriot Jose Serrano just a second or so down the road. Can Serrano invent something in the final sector of this race to challenge against Paul Ura's lead?
It's going to happen all down here at the
He is
Lamont
catching
chicane. It's
him,
all about how
obviously,
you
with the
get through
draft.
here.
He's
If
the
it's
one.
clean and
It
up the
took a
stuff, he'll be
long
just
time
fine here, just
for
over
Miyazono
under
to
a
even
second
put
lead, but still,
any
even with that
distance or
8
any
tenths,
gap
7
closing
tenths,
on
he
Ura,
should
and
be
he
fine.
didn't.
Labutale with a 3-second
And
penalty.
Serrano's
That's his race
already
done. Chance of points going
3/10 ahead of that.
out of the window here tonight. What a shame there for Labutale, an even bigger shame though for Takuma Miyazono, who lost out on a chance of challenging for that win. No such bother though for Paul Ura. He comes across the timing line to take
Miyazono
a
got screwed,
commanding
man.
victory.
Serrano,
Paul Ura
dude, give
wins
Serrano
World
2 more
Series
laps
3
and
in
that
the
would have
Nations
been
Cup
possibly
here in Los
him.
Angeles, ahead of Jose
Damn.
Serrano. It's a Spanish 1-2 in LA ahead of Killian Drummond, who completes the podium. What an absolutely phenomenal
Spain.
drive. And Jose Serrano extends his lead in the championship. If you remember,
dude, Miyazono got screwed, huh?
That race, we were talking about Jose
3-second
Serrano.
penalty means he gets pushed really far back. That may have put him from like what,
He's managed to extend
3rd place to like 8th place or some shit.
All those closing laps and navigating a lot
Maybe
of
worse.
contact amongst many drivers.
They were all very close.
But what a drive by Pogliera there to get to the lead and not relinquish it at all. Kept that gap just big enough. It looked like it was going to close up in that final lap, but when Miyazono got spun, that gave him the gap that he needed to get away. And what a great day for the Spaniards.
Absolutely amazing job from Jose Serrano and also from Paul.
Ura did really good, just holding on to that the whole time, and I honestly think Serrano catches him in a couple more laps. Serrano's nasty, dude.
He really gave it his all here, and you can also see Angel Stroza, Spanish-speaker Chilean driver, of course, coming up to congratulate the two Spaniards. Dominant performance from both of those guys here this weekend.
Labutli probably feels pretty shitty about that, bro. Man held a top 3 for the entire race just to make a mistake on the final lap. That's rough, bro. That's real rough. He went to defend
spread the field out so much and just removed about 3 competitors
on the inside, and then took the turn too wide and clipped the back of Miyazono.
They were in drafting contention.
I think he was defending against Serrano, too.
They're down in the Le Mans chicane, and with them getting together, it just took away any of that opportunity.
Absolutely. Well, here are the highlights then from this race. You can see it was a pretty interesting affair at the sharp end of this one. We saw drivers who started on the hard tyre at the back end of this. We saw Kai de Bruyne going for a spin after some contact in the opening stages of this. We saw
Bruyne did get screwed early.
For position and lots of changes for the lead as well. But there's nothing to get too excited about because, again, they were all sort of keeping their powder relatively dry, waiting for those pit stop phases to work out.
And I love that move by Serrano.
Yeah, he swept the leg, dude. Track limit Summit.
Sneaky to the outside and then was able to take the lead on the exit of the pits.
Yeah, phenomenal job there from those guys. And as we came towards the final third of the race,
Labutli, man. You fucked up, got a little pressure on you in the last lap, and then boom.
Absolutely brilliantly because
I want to know where he ended up.
Everyone else was on the hards in the mid phase of it, and then they all ended up on the soft tyres in the closing stages of the race. It started to get a bit aggressive. We saw Miyazono having a bit of contact there with Thomas Labutli. Serrano got hung out to the dry on the outside. In the final
here it is, right?
He was on the soft tyres. We had at one point
Labutli defends Serrano and fucking goes way. I think he just doesn't. I think he just missed his break point a bit.
Going through to take a commanding victory ahead of championship leader Jose Serrano, with Kylian Drumont completing the podium in commanding style. What a great drive from Pogliera. Absolute delight from the Spaniard, and no surprise at all. A maximum 6 points he scores here tonight in Los Angeles, ahead of Jose Serrano, who will extend his lead now in the championship up to 17 points with just 1 round remaining, the World Finals in Fukuoka. Points all the way down to 6th place. Drumont, Miyazono, Gallo and Barbara are your last of your points scorers.
Labutli ended up in 8th place after that, dude. Damn. From top 3 the whole time to 8th. That's rough for 1 mistake. It's a huge mistake because it cost Miyazono 2nd.
No, we didn't. We were like, we just need to get Paul. Paul's too happy, frankly, after that. How was that for you?
It was a huge mistake, yeah. That's the type of mistakes I see when I'm driving, you know what I'm saying? And then Chad tells me I'm stupid and fucked up when I was Miyazono.
Cancels out.
Yeah, I corrected it,
yeah.
so I'm very happy. I have no words. A win is always very good, especially after what happened in Berlin. I kind of redeemed, so it's a way to show or to prove myself.
Hi, buddy. How you
it's
doing?
not over.
I mean, it wasn't. Everyone has a moment. We talked about this literally after Berlin. Everyone has their moments. They have their good weeks, their bad weeks. But, I mean, that particular race was so... I mean, Miyazono and Labutli did you a bit of a favour because literally the top of the pack, you guys were just... We couldn't keep up. It was like backwards and forwards. But you just got that extra bit of gap and got away. So you should probably say thank you to them.
I mean, yeah, even at the beginning, it was hard for me to follow the group in the mediums. I don't know, I just couldn't find pace at all, but then I could still hang out by just a little bit. And then with the hards, I felt much more comfortable, and that's why at the end of the stint, I decided to go up to first with the help of the slipstream. And with the soft, I also felt pretty comfortable, so when I had a gap, I could keep it, though battles behind also helped me a little bit.
True.
It was a great race to watch. Do you feel pleased now? We got the back on the Spanish 1-2. You just switched around with Jose?
Yeah, I mean, it's a 1-2 for me and Ozzy, so I'm not so very happy for him. We're teammates in Falcons esports, so for the team it's an amazing result. For him as well, I'm very happy, and also I would like to congratulate Killian on the 3rd position.
Get out of here.
Okay, let's give him a big round of applause, our winner, pole era. Back to you, Tom Parker.
Amazing job from Paul Ura, his first win of the season, and here are the point rankings then after 3 rounds of GT World Series in 2025.
I mean, he's
Jose
second
Serrano
place.
now has 17 points, a 5-point cushion over Paul Ura going into the
Serrano's
round of
chilling going into the
2025. Valero Gallo
championships.
drops down to 3rd in the standings. They're though in front of Takuma Miyazono, Killian Drummond, who gets his first podium of the year as well, in front of Takuma Sasaki, and Guy Barber also stealing his first point of the year there as well.
And I thought it was a great comeback by Gallo there, starting at the back, utilizing that alt strategy through different tires, and then getting to the lead pack, and it just didn't quite work out in the final stint for him, but he put himself in such a good position.
Serrano really did well, because he got screwed on one of the fights in the pack, dropped back to 6th, and fought his way back to 2nd. That's fucking crazy. All right, dudes. Thank you guys for the sponsorship. I appreciate it. Good luck to the drivers in Japan, dudes.